Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Welcome to today's encouragement from Our Daily Bread. The devotional for today, titled God in the Past and Present, was written by Matt Lucas. It had been years since we had left the Oregon town where we raised our family. We'd made great memories there, and the recent visit reminded me of moments I'd forgotten. The town had changed, but there was enough of the familiar to spark my desire to return for a visit. When the Israelites went into exile in Babylon, they missed the familiarity of people, landmarks, and culture. They forgot they'd been exiled for rebelling against God. When false prophets told the exiles they'd return home within 2 years, they found a receptive audience. It was easy to listen to the slick words of false prophets who promised to return home soon. God didn't take kindly to these peddlers of the past and their false promises. Do not let the prophets and diviners among you deceive you, he said in Jeremiah 29. He had plans for his people, plans to give them hope and a future. The situation was challenging, difficult, and new, but God was with them. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart, he told them. God would bring them back to the place from which I carried you into exile, but in his timing. Nostalgia plays tricks on the mind, making it easy to long for what once was. Don't miss what God is doing right now. He will fulfill his promises. Today's encouragement was provided by Our Daily Bread Ministries.
Recently, Hamas attacked Israel, capturing and killing scores of Israelis. Israel is now responding. I'm Charlie Dyer of The Land and the Book. While you and I are thousands of miles away, we can have an impact on that conflict. We can pray. We can pray for wisdom and for comfort in the lives of those who are now grieving. Most of all, we can pray for peace in the Middle East. We invite the entire Moody Radio family to pause and pray right now. Thank you.
Serving Erie, Huron, and Lake counties and beyond. This is Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVME Meadville, WVMN Newcastle, WVMU Ashtabula, or stream us anywhere with the Moody Radio app, other streaming services, and at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi is dead. It's 6 o'clock. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. Iran state media says a helicopter carrying Raisi and 8 other people, including the Iranian foreign minister, crashed Sunday afternoon local time in the mountain province of East Azerbaijan. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says intelligence officials have told him there is no evidence of foul play. Akron Public Schools Superintendent Michael Robinson has outlined a cost-cutting measure that would mean the elimination of 285 employee positions from the district. Garfield CLC students are planning to walk out of classes today at 3 p.m. in a demonstration of their support for educators. And prior to Sunday's Guardians-Twins game at Progressive Field, fans and the teams paid tribute to fallen Euclid police officer Jacob Durbin. Officer Durbin's father took to the mound to throw out the first pitch before Sunday's game. I'll be right back with sports and weather.
Moody Radio is thankful for support from Epic Studios. This summer, believers nationwide will join the Million Souls campaign, bringing unsaved family and friends to see the new movie, The Firing Squad, the true story of prisoners who find faith in the face of execution and transform their prison in the process. At the movie's conclusion, co-star Kevin Sorbo comes on screen to lead the theater in a prayer of commitment to Jesus. More information on tickets is available at FiringSquadFilm.com.
In sports, the Guardians walked off the Twins 5-2, and the Pirates tamed the Cubs 3-2. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Mostly sunny with a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. High temperatures in the upper 80s. Wow. And at last check, we did have some clear skies across most of our listening area. 68 degrees in Cleveland, 64 Akron and Canton, 66 degrees in Mansfield.
It's time for your moron moment.
National Streaming Day is celebrated on May 20th every year. On this day, the revolutionary movement of streaming services and how it introduced a whole new wave of watching movies and TV shows is highlighted. From Netflix, Disney Plus, and Paramount Plus to PureFlix, the insurmountable number of films, series, documentaries, and reality TV shows accessible for streaming in the comfort of your home is fascinating. And most days, you can watch this show streaming on Facebook and YouTube. And that's your Moron Moment.
Moron.
And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 6:03 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine Studio. It's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
At Mornings with Brian, we discuss life's deeper questions without taking ourselves too seriously. Tune in for honest conversations intended to inspire lasting change. Start your Mornings with Brian, weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on 103.3 FM.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Yeah. It's either cheering for Chris Tomlin or the fact that I'm back.
Woo!
Oh, it's you. It's all you.
Oh, stop. Thank you to the whole team for all the extra work you did on my behalf as I had a staycation last week. Lauren Cuevas, my lovely and talented friend.
Yes.
Sitting in the captain's chair. Thank you very much.
Of course.
No, she sat in the co-pilot's chair. She didn't want to sit over in the captain's chair.
I didn't sit over there.
This is just weird.
All my stuff is here, and you got a lot of junk over there I didn't want to deal with.
We had a couple of guests in that we made sit in your chair. Normally we would have them sit somewhere else. And they're like, I can't sit there.
Weird.
That's Brian's chair.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, I do have a lot of things over here.
You do have a lot of things.
Pastor Scott said, I need to just get the fidget spinner out of the way.
Yeah,
it scared him. He said.
Some of your things were making him nervous.
Yeah.
Where did you put my fidget spinner?
Oh, I don't know.
If he's a good friend, he hid it.
Yeah.
I guess it looks like I have a lot of toys here, believe it or not.
That's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, well, so you do believe it. It's not or not. We had I had a great week. We'll talk about that in a minute. But any interesting things from the team over the weekend?
Oh, Brian's looking at me. Jimmy and I are under contract for a house.
Oh!
Yay!
I didn't know if you wanted to share, but this
I
is
don't care.
very exciting news.
It's in this housing market. It's kind of you're going to get mad at me because I'm going to pull a Lauren. It's hard to get excited in this housing market. This is the third house we put an offer on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, people don't get this. When you talk to real estate agents and mortgage lenders, there's people who, I feel like you had a story about someone with dozens?
17, yeah. Not us, but someone that our lender was also helping.
17 offers.
17 offers. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at that point, it's just like, just got to get this over with.
My sister and her partner are like that right now.
Oh, wow. Wow.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah,
They're trying, but they can't.
Buying in this house or buying a house in this market is basically legalized gambling.
Oh.
You don't know what this house is worth. You don't know if there's something wrong with it. You don't know what anyone else is going to bid. There was one house we really, really liked. We bid $16,000 over, and someone still outbid us.
Oh, my word.
Crazy.
Goodness sakes.
Yeah.
But Daria, we are very excited for you.
Oh, I'm excited too.
My only disappointment is that you didn't take my suggestion and live very close to me.
I didn't want to drive 50 minutes.
Yeah.
I found a really cool house in
No, you
downtown
didn't.
Garrettsville. I did. I texted her.
Oh, my gosh.
He did. I said, oh, no, it's already under contract.
You guys could carpool.
Right. It was like she could walk to Save a Lot.
Oh, wow.
She could
That's
walk
a selling point.
to the movie theater.
Nice.
Oh, I do own
Who
a
would
car.
like that?
Oh my goodness,
do own
we're
a
so
car. Well.
excited.
Yeah.
All the
Lauren,
places you can walk.
now you probably like fed babies and didn't sleep.
Yeah, one of them is teething, so he was just kind of a little grump over the weekend, but got a lot of snuggles that way.
Baby snuggles are fun.
Mm-hmm.
Ron, anything exciting on your end?
Things continue to break at my house.
Oh, no.
I was,
There's the dishwasher.
Yeah, the dishwasher.
Oh, no.
I still don't, I got a piece for it, but I still don't know what's wrong because that didn't seem to take care of the problem.
Don't
Yeah.
you love that?
But the dryer is fixed. I got that fixed right away.
I knew you could do it, Ron.
The flush valve of the toilet that was messed up, that has been replaced, but the handle broke. So I have to put a new handle on. I've got that piece, just have to get time to do that. And then yesterday we're out on the deck, getting it all set because the kids were coming over. And I went to open this big cantilever umbrella that we've got that is in its second year of use.
Lauren liked that word if you're watching the live stream.
And I put it up, it's kind of a 2-stage to get it into position. And I'm cranking and it's not opening. And I'm
no.
Okay, what's going on? So I stick my head underneath and manually push it out a little bit. The rope's gone. So it must have rotted and broke.
Oh, great.
But I've had it open a couple times already this spring, summer, whatever. And it was there. So just a recent break. But I've never replaced a rope in a, umbrella.
Can you?
I'll find out. YouTube's going to tell me.
Yeah, right. YouTube's good for that.
Yeah.
Now, I did, in fact, a lot of mowing. Lauren and I chatted a number of times on the phone last week. And every time you called, I'd be like, hold on, I got to move the mower into the shade. I'd be like yelling, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Things are growing a lot.
One time you answered, and as you answered, I said, wow, he's mowing his lawn. And you said, sorry, I'm on my lawnmower. Like, as you answered.
If the grass is crazy, and then
it's bad.
I had a neighbor who needed a hand, so I was like mowing next door.
That's
and
nice.
Good for you.
I mean, it's a riding lawnmower. It's not like I'm getting any exercise at all.
Did you work through a lot of podcasts or something like that?
Yeah, I listen to podcasts, music. It's actually a good time to spend some time with the Lord a little bit there. So I did that as well. I cut down trees, kind of.
Oh.
Kinda?
You said something about a stump, but I wasn't really sure what you meant by that.
Well, we've got, we're going to be changing where our chickens are at some point. But we're doing all the free things at the moment.
Of course.
And so one of them was I cut down some trees. First one, I did a couple of, I'm thinking I'm big time, right? And then there's the really big one I was going to cut down. And I watched a YouTube video.
Yeah, I know how to do this.
So I got it to aim it. And it was leaning one particular direction. And I was like, no, I don't want it to go that way. So I decided, with all my expertise from that 3-minute video and my dull chainsaw, that I was going to do something else. And within a few minutes, Sarah and Matthias are watching in the porch as this big tree is about to come down. And then, instead, chainsaw gets stuck in the tree.
No.
Like it's just in there, just stuck. And so I'm like, oh, great. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I go and grab some just random things out of the garage to come back. And my Amish neighbor was standing there kind of chuckling with Sarah. And I was like, well, this is embarrassing.
That is embarrassing.
And so
Did he help you?
Oh, he got it done. He's like, hey, do you mind where it falls? I was like, no, I just want to get my chainsaw out of the tree. He came back with this giant chainsaw and he just took care of business.
Wow.
He was amazing. Yay, Amish neighbor.
Yay.
I didn't know they could use chainsaws.
I was about to ask that too.
I don't know all the rules, but I think you can use gasoline-powered stuff.
Okay.
He actually, I think his job is in forestry, believe it or not, he said. So he came over and it was
got to do it.
I mean, I was embarrassed even just by the existence of my very not manly chainsaw that I have. And then he had this giant, he's leaning on it. It's so big. And oh man, did he make it was artistic what he did.
Yes.
Is it Paul Bunyan or John Bunyan? Which one's
Paul.
which?
It's Paul.
Thank you.
And Babe the Blue Ox.
Yes,
I think Paul just pushed over trees because he was so big, but
John's from that other book, John Bunyan.
Oh, yeah. Pilgrim's Progress.
I never know which one's which. There's
Someone
the
should do a mix of the two. I think that'd be really interesting. A really big theologian, literally.
Right.
The Bunions. I don't know.
With a blue ox who follows him around.
And then the other thing, a friend gifted Sarah and I a pair of tickets to see the Guardians and the Twins play over the weekend.
That's fun.
Nice.
Very fun, great seats. The only observation I would give, I have my opinions about baseball, but it's a fun experience to go to the stadium. It's a cool stadium.
Did you get
Sarah's
hot dogs?
First time, well, it was $1 dog night.
So you got
you
many
got
hot dogs.
But it was a bit overwhelming to watch the public get that excited about hot dogs. We got in our little line and we waited for our little $1 hot dogs, which I've had better. I mean, they were cold because they had to make, 10 million hot dogs.
Yeah.
So they weren't even worth the $1.
I mean, what's a package of hot dogs?
$1.
Right? Yeah. But there are people who are acting like they were about to get gold. I mean, waiting in line during a game that they paid to watch 30, 45 minutes to get the max 6 hot dogs. Walking with their giant pile of cold hot dogs. It was a bit wild. I didn't know people got that fired up about hot dogs.
Aldi has hot dogs for 99 cents a pack.
But people thought they won something. You pay $40 to park. You know.
That is very expensive.
You buy your tickets, you do your thing, and you get your $1 hot dog, and you think, boy, did I just get a deal.
Yeah, why do places charge to park? It's like, I already paid to get into your facility.
I don't know.
I have to pay for my car, too?
Yeah.
So.
There's a little bit cheaper, but we didn't get there in time to get the cheaper. I think you can get for $30, I think. But it was, Guardians great. The Twins, I'm from Minnesota, so that was kind of fun. I don't know anything about baseball, but I was like, hey, they're from Minnesota. That's fun.
Yeah.
The extent of my knowledge there. Well, we left early, but
Ron, who won?
But I heard that the Indians won. Or sorry, Guardians won.
Yep. They
sorry.
did. 5-2.
So, yeah.
Ooh.
But look at me. I went to a professional baseball game. Special thanks to my friend who gifted those tickets to me. It was very
fun.
kind.
That's fun.
Way to go, me. And coming up here in just a minute, there's 2 big trends that all the fancy people, the trending Hollywood people are doing. 2 trends. We're going to see how fancy we all are here. Coming up in just a minute.
If you're 65 or older, you know this. Seeing your healthcare costs go up and up is frustrating. And maybe you were just notified that your Medicare costs are increasing again, or you're just tired of the massive deductibles. Well, here's some good news. There's a program that can really help with this. It's Medicare 65 Plus. It's an affordable, reliable alternative. You can choose any Medicare provider. You get telehealth access anytime you need it. And Medicare 65 Plus is a low-cost option for those with Medicare Parts A and B, and it fills in the gaps where Medicare stops. Medicare is a Christian healthcare community that aligns with your faith. People actually pray for you. They encourage you, and it's proven, too. It's been going strong for over 30 years now. So call now. You can get one low monthly price for up to 10 years. You're not stuck with increasing costs. You can do something about this today. Call Medicare 65 Plus. Find out how much you can save. Call 833-59-SHARE. That's 833-59-SHARE. 833-59-SHARE.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten.
Without Trinity's support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-659-9838. That's 1-800-659-9838.
Keeping your eyes on Jesus in a changing culture can be difficult. Let us help. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio, Cleveland.
623 WCRF. We're giving away Lauren Daigle tickets. Where have I been? Look
On
at
vacation.
Well, how fancy we are.
Yeah, we are. 5 pairs.
People love Lauren Daigle.
Oh, yeah.
My girls went to see her in Columbus.
Right. And now she's real close.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Lauren Daigle, adding that concert at later. We got 5 pairs of tickets. Text Lauren to 440-546-2255, 440-546-2255, and you'll enter for your chance to win one of the 5 pairs. Man, you guys are generous. I think I can speak for Ron in saying that neither of us, well, let me put it a different way. Both of us gave up trying to be trendy many decades ago.
Amen.
Yeah? I mean...
Yeah. No doubt.
I can't even try. I never was. I mean, I kind of was a little bit because of Sarah.
Right.
And that ended for a long time ago. Are you ladies trendy, either of you?
No.
I don't think so.
I also stopped trying a long time ago. I just don't care at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They change so quickly. Most of them are stupid. I'm just like, no, I'm me, and I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Wow,
If I were to be
like
trendy, I'd have to wear the sunglasses right now that are this big that cover just my pupils.
Oh, it's small now? Small? I thought it was big sunglasses.
No.
Oh, those
very
are so
small.
last year.
Those are very old. Very small glasses.
What else is a trend? I don't know. I got a couple of trends I want to ask you guys about that are big, but
I don't know. I'd really have to think about that.
I feel like the eyebrow trend changes all the time. It
Yeah,
used
it
to
does.
be
It used to be like
shave it
slivers,
off,
like one
put it up on your
eyebrow,
hairline.
like one brow.
One hair wide.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and now
it's very thick.
it's big.
Yeah.
But are they supposed to be properly placed, or are they supposed to be up near your
Above?
hairline?
No, I think they're supposed to be properly placed.
Okay. And
Overlining
separated.
your lips so they look bigger. That's the thing.
Overlining. What does that mean? I
So
don't know
you
what that
put the
means.
lip liner like
On-
outside
on
of the
your
line.
face?
Yeah, outside
You're
of the lines.
basically drawing fake lips on top of
That's
your real
right.
lips.
That's exactly right.
Does that trick people?
No.
No.
Like people look at it and go, "Wow, she's got large lips."
From far away.
Haha, it's my face.
But then if you're actually looking at them, no.
It just looks bad.
Yeah.
Because normally, aren't you supposed to draw the line on the edge of your lip?
Yes.
Yeah, which I also can't do, by the way.
It's hard. I can't. I mean,
It's really hard.
Like when you played Super Mario or whatever, Mario Party, and you have to like outline the characters on the little sledgehammers. Anyone?
I'm too old for that game.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Lauren
well,
and I will play this weekend.
there's a new coffee trend I'd like to skip or talk to you guys about. And it starts off with this in the Wall Street Journal. A person's cafe order can be kind of a personality cipher. Black coffee devotees are hardcore. Eddie Cuevas.
Yes, exactly.
A single espresso evokes sophistication. They didn't include what I do in here.
What is that?
What does it say about me that I like well water with Folgers and lots of creamer?
You're cheap.
Doesn't care?
Yeah.
If you like well water,
You're
with
there for the caffeine?
anything.
I like
it's-
well water.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's really hard.
Do you not have sulfur taste or any of that?
No, ours is actually like, the only problem with it is it's excessively hard. Otherwise, it's fine.
Oh.
I mean, to me,
Excessively.
water all tastes, I don't know, like water. But some people,
No,
that's
it
different.
has taste.
Did you try the well water at my house when you were there?
No.
Oh, you are so fancy. So, but the trend in coffee is not well water and Folgers as much as I wish that was the case.
Yeah.
Or Maxwell House, depending on what's on sale. It's not drinking coffee at all. That's trendy now.
See, this is why I don't keep up with trends, because they're dumb.
So supermodel Giselle, what's her name?
Like Bunchin or something like that?
She starts her morning with room temperature water with a bit of lemon and Celtic salt.
She salts her water.
I don't know why anyone would do that.
What is Celtic salt?
And how long do you wait for it to be room temperature? You have to
from
brew
Ireland.
You just get out of the faucet, which she's probably too fancy for that because
Yeah.
she's married to Tom Brady, or was married to Tom Brady, right?
Yeah.
Is she like heating it up and then letting it cool off?
It doesn't say. NBA star Giannis, Ron told me, Antetokounmpo.
You did it. Woo!
He opts for a smoothie. Actor Sydney Sweeney said she's never tried coffee. Mark Cuban drinks decaf.
Why bother?
Okay.
I don't know. And then you have other people.
He seems too riled up as it is, so that's probably
Yeah.
for the best.
Yeah, I saw him speak once. Big disappointment, to be honest. I was like, wow, this is it? Mindy Kaling. She's self-conscious. She doesn't drink coffee and thinks it's off-putting to people. Camille Irving,
is.
the vice president of Uber, doesn't drink coffee either. Steven Spielberg doesn't drink coffee.
I liked him.
Mark Zuckerberg, no coffee.
Jimmy
Him
doesn't
too.
drink coffee. He refuses.
What's his problem?
He doesn't like the taste.
He's trendy.
He is.
Yes.
I won't tell him that.
I'm curious if these people, like, they don't drink the coffee because they have a issue with caffeine, or what the reason. A lot of people don't like the taste, so they opt for a chocolate milk in the morning, or like Adetis with the a smoothie. He's, I'm sure, very health conscious when you're one of the top NBA players.
Yeah, my brother would be like, "Oh, I don't drink coffee," as he like sucks down a Mountain Dew. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's the totally different.
Yeah, I do
And
know
way
a lot
better
of people
for you.
do that.
Well, now what's the reason? A lot of them say that they think it's healthier for them. They're sleeping better, or they're I don't know what. Don't drink in the afternoon.
Yeah,
There
I
you
don't
go.
drink past like noon.
And then it won't affect your sleep.
Yeah.
I'm not really affected by caffeine.
Neither is Eddie. He could have coffee at like 7 p.m. and go to sleep just fine.
Yep.
I think people in that
I'd be
position
up
need
for
to see a
48
doctor.
hours.
Oh yeah, no, I can't. No, I won't.
No.
But why is this cool? Can we not have anything that's like, can I call it indulgent?
Sure, you can have it.
I call
You're
it
just
joy in
not
a mug.
trendy.
Yeah, it's
People like to be contrarians.
especially when there's celebrities. It's like, oh, Mark Zuckerberg with your $20 gajillion. Oh, your private chef. Maybe make sure your special little smoothie. Or you don't drink your coffee. Oh, you're so important without your coffee.
If I was him, I would be having fresh beans flown in from Ethiopia or wherever every single morning.
Roasted in my house.
He could do that and then not drink it and just throw it out and be like, well, I just can't do that today.
Just enjoy the smell.
He probably just gets the caffeine pumped into his veins via an IV drip.
Maybe that's why he looks like that.
That's actually, we'll talk about it at some point. There's
IV
a new
drip?
trend is like,
Oh,
for
yes, I know.
the high-end people, it's IV drips.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Of
They
like
come to their
vitamins
house.
or something?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. What happened to, I take gummy vitamins.
Those are the
good.
best.
Yeah, they're fun. The other trend I just will never understand, and it's only like, well, I can't say only because maybe someone listening does this. The cold plunging.
Oh, yeah.
You seen this?
It sounds like you're fixing a toilet problem.
It really does. No, you get into, essentially, you plunge your body into a small vat of ice water.
Okay.
Wasn't that a Seinfeld
that?
episode?
I don't know.
Well,
I think it
they
was Kramer was like training for a polar plunge or something like that.
Oh, yes, that's right. But see, no, it's like it's been done for a long time, but now it's trendy where you can even buy these portable ones, and it has to be below 60 degrees.
The water?
The water.
Do people just like torturing themselves? No coffee. We're gonna subject ourselves to an ice bath.
Apparently, according to Vogue, my favorite periodical,
Ooh.
the health benefits are undeniable. Studies showing it can improve insulin sensitivity, boost dopamine, slow disease progression, lower inflammation, increase metabolism, and reduce stress and anxiety. It's an exercise for the circulatory system and hormonal system and nervous and immune systems all at once.
I think jumping into cold water would make me more anxious.
I'm already a coldy gal, so I don't need to get more cold.
So we're all going to remain untrendy?
I'm going to sit in the sun with my coffee. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah, we used to have those ice baths at my high school in the football training area.
Well, yeah, when you like break your leg or whatever, right?
Well, not break, but yeah, after a
Break a
game.
leg? No problem. We've got an ice bath.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's acting where you break a leg, right?
But we would have the athlete, like our star running back, after a game, he'd be really beat up, and he'd get in that and soak for a half an hour or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whenever doctors say, you have to ice that, I'd be like, it's too cold. I'm not doing that. I hated icing things. I can't get into a lukewarm pool.
Because it's too
cold.
Too cold.
It would do nothing.
We should get a cold plunge bath and make Lauren get in there.
I don't think we could make her get in there.
No.
Can't make
I'd put my
Lauren do
two
anything.
toes in there
She'd
and
be like
done.
a cat, all sprayed out.
Yes.
I'd say we'd
Yes.
make Ron do it, but he'd be like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. All right, 6:33, time for a quick break, and we come back. Oh, look, it's our friends, the Ferrinis. Joe and Cindi Ferrini will join us. They want to chat a little bit about red flags in relationships, but today, we've done red flags, actually. Today, we're going to be talking about green flags in relationships.
Oh.
Like good signs. We'll get to that in just a minute.
I'm Jamie Buxton, and this is Pause for Prayer. Ugh, it happened again. My son asked for help with his homework, but didn't like the way I was teaching him. There was yelling and a fit on his end, and then it happened. I totally lost control of my emotions and words. So now he's feeling terrible, and my insides are in knots thinking about the awful things I said and how I said them. I hope you can relate. Have you ever been in a discussion, usually with someone you love most in the world, and suddenly your nerves are shot, your blood pressure rises drastically, and the worst version of you can't help but spill out? Yes, of course this happens to me too. I live with humans. In fact, I live with tiny humans that do gross things, that don't have the best boundaries and know how to get under my skin. Let's pause for prayer. Heavenly Father, help me to have the self-control you tell us about in your word over and over again. Help me to have self-control when it feels like others desire to stomp on my emotions and pull me into a bad place. Help me to realize that I always have a choice to keep control of my emotions or to hand it over to those who are hurting me. Help me to understand that your power is in me, God, and that when I fly off the handle, I'm giving that power to others. Jesus, give me self-control in situations that are hard for me, and remind me that your word tells me in Proverbs 25, like a city whose walls are broken down is a man who lacks self-control. I know that the secret to keeping your power within me is to let your word into the depth of my heart. Allow your word to seep into my mind and heart so that it can accomplish good and powerful things that will help me to show self-control in situations that feel completely out of control. In your precious name I pray. Amen.
Lauren Daigle will be in concert at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse on Thursday.
At Mornings with Brian, we discuss life's deeper questions without taking ourselves too seriously. Tune in for honest conversations intended to inspire lasting change. Start your mornings with Brian, weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on 103.3 FM.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Let us help. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
6:36. Quick heads up for you. Coming around 7:30 to 8 o'clock, our friend David Mullane from Yost Insurance will be here to answer your Medicare questions.
Mm-hmm.
We know a bunch of you have Medicare questions, and David will be the guy to answer those. You can get him in early and get in line. You can text him into 440-546-2255, 440-546-2255. Well, we've chatted with them about red flags in your relationship, but what about green flags? They're here to talk about it. Joe and Cindi Ferrini spoke nationally for Family Life's Weekend to Remember Getaway for over 20 years and have been doing Pause for Prayer for many, many years. It's time for My Marriage Matters. Welcome back, Cindi and Joe.
Thank you. How are you?
So good to have you guys here with us. So green flags today. So I'm assuming this is like good signs in a relationship, huh?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
And this kind of came about where we happened to meet a couple, and I just said, I wonder if they saw any green flags or red flags when they were dating. Actually, it was a couple that divorced.
Oh.
And I thought, if we don't catch the red flags, maybe we need to learn how to catch for sure the green flags so that we don't worry about down the road all these red flags. And I don't know. I often wonder when people meet, do they really know each other? Do they really, really know each other?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think oftentimes people get swept up with infatuation, or I think it's called limerence sometimes. And so it's like, I don't know that they think too much about it.
Yeah, I wonder. I really wonder. And, you know, you just even wonder sometimes when you see something really obvious, temper, anger, lying, you know that they're doing this. Why would you stay with that person? So we wanted to advocate for looking for things that would really, they should entice you. These green flags should entice you to enjoy them and want to know them better.
Yeah, and see, I'm glad about this for a couple of reasons. I've talked to my daughters about this, but there's plenty of teenage girls who have this thing of, I'm going to date the bad boy and make him better. And I just, I don't get it. And then I would always, when I was a teacher, I would encourage my students. I'd say, don't worry, nerds. The nerd eventually gets the girl. Huh, Joe?
He wins in the end. That's right. He wins in the end.
Sorry to call you a nerd, but I mean, come on.
That's all right. Hey, I've been called worse, believe me.
Oh my gosh.
So what are some green flags for us to look for? How do we approach this?
The first thing I would say is, if you are a believer, I really feel that you should be dating a believer, looking for a believer, not hoping, like you just said, Brian, well, he's such a nice guy. And there are many wonderful non-believing people, don't get me wrong. But to enter into a marriage and you're not on the same page and you're not, if you will, equally yoked, then when you have trials and challenges and you want to call on the Lord and your spouse has no clue and no interest, that is a red flag. So I think a green flag would be definitely someone who is spiritually your equal and knows the Lord. So that's really the first thing. And then aside for that, can you really be fully you? If you have to pretend you're somebody else, I don't think that goes very well. And I always have to laugh because Kathleen used to say, if I can't sing and act like Celine Dion once in a while, then there's just no relationship here. And so she would test that out, and she'd go out to dinner and she'd have a nice time and everything, and then she'd pull out this Celine Dion, and if she was met with, oh my goodness, she said, I want somebody fun. I want somebody who can just be spontaneous and do fun, silly things. So not that you have to be spontaneous and do fun, silly things, but who are you? Okay, that's just an example of Kathleen. Who are you? And if you can't be you, then you're going to have a really tough time in this marriage. So that would be a green flag. You feel comfortable in your skin to be just who you are.
I like that.
This is really a good point for having good premarital counseling. And the idea of doing that counseling with someone objectively, not someone who knows you personally, but I would also advocate, in addition to the premarital counseling, to engage in community with people so that you can put yourself in situations where it's not a normal situation, but you can begin to see and identify what are some of those areas of this person's life that really are concerning to me. And until you can flush that out, you're gonna get surprised, down the road. So I think, learning to listen well is really an important skill that you need to start developing early on before you get married, personally.
Yeah, so we kind of have everything written here on our little notes, things that you should look for in words and things you should look for in action. So Joe picked the first one, which was to listen well. And just to add to that, as you're listening well to other people and even to things that they might share with you about yourself, not to be defensive and not to be nasty about it, but to take it in and consider it and just really listen to what they have to say, but be a good listener. And you want someone who is a good listener.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's good. Yeah. What's another thing we can think about in words?
Well, again, I think I just want to go back just to the importance of just surrounding yourself with a community of believers, a community of people that would be willing to allow you to interact with people, to allow you to interact freely with this individual that you're thinking about seriously pursuing. But I think another thing that you need to be, as Cindi referred to, is just the importance of being open to express yourself freely. And I think it's really important that if you can find yourself in situations where, you're glad to engage in conversation with this individual and you're not hesitant to do that. I mean, that would be a very positive green flag. For me personally, it means Cindy knows that she cannot come to me with style questions, right? I mean, she can ask me how's my hair look and how do my clothes look, and I'm glad to share my thoughts with her. But if she wants a long conversation about these things, she knows I'm not the go-to person on that one. And
me neither, bro.
Yeah, that's it. I just can't go there.
And then also, are you able to apologize? And I think you had something in your notes, Joe. Don't apologize if you can't do something. I liked that because it's not like, well, first of all, you can't go like, oh, I can't cook. You know what I mean? You've got to rise to the occasion. But if it's something like, I'm not able to do something, that's not an apology. You don't need to apologize for something you can't do. I'm trying to think of something,
Yeah,
I can't
sometimes
mow the lawn,
people.
or I can't walk or something. I can't.
Yeah, that's very good. Can they actually sincerely apologize when they've actually committed a wrong? No, I think that has huge value because a lot of people will deflect. I mean, I had to learn the hard way for many years that, if I did something wrong, I shouldn't be like, oh, well, no, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean to. Because that's not helpful. It doesn't matter what I meant. It matters the words I used.
Yes. Right. So after I've had surgery and I can't use my hand, I can't go, oh, I'm sorry, I can't cook. I had to think about this for a minute. You can't cook for a little bit, but when you can, then you can. So you have to make sure that you're understanding, what that means. And then that you can have difficult conversations together, things that are deeper than just the everyday business life. Often Joe and I will go out to dinner, we'll take our calendars, and we will have a business meeting, and that's kind of the purpose of it. But also, are you able to have conversations deeper than just what's going on in life?
Yeah. Yeah, and some people never talk about that stuff, which is when couples say, oh, boy, we never fight. I wonder if they've ever talked about anything.
That's right. That's the problem.
Well, and then how intimate is your relationship?
Yeah.
If you can't talk about things, and if you're always shut down every time you talk about it, you will stop.
That's right.
So have conversations that are difficult while you're dating so that you can see if that's possible when you're married. Don't wait till you're married to figure that out.
It is 6:46. Our guests are Joe and Cindi Ferrini with My Marriage Matters. When we come back from this break, we'll keep talking about green flags to look for in a relationship.
Moody Radio is thankful for listeners and support from businesses like Duma Meats and Farm Market. Duma Meats and Farm Market supporting Moody Radio in Cleveland and surrounding areas. More information about Duma Meats and Farm Market is at dumameats.com.
At Moody Radio, we go to great lengths to minister to you. We track urgent global issues. We're constantly playing new music and talking to new guests, airing new features. But there's one thing Moody Radio refuses to do: go into debt. Meaning, if the money isn't there, the ministry can't happen. Your gift helps us stay far away from debt. Thanks.
Go to our website at moodyradio.org/Cleveland. Thank you.
God's Word says a lot about music. From creation to the book of Revelation, you'll find songs, lyrics, songwriters, voices, and instruments. This month, join Today in the Word and our author Brian Lee for a devotional titled Sing to the Lord, Music in the Bible. To get it, download the free app or go to todayintheword.com. todayintheword.com.
You've looked at refinancing your house in the past, but for whatever reason, it just wasn't the right time. Moody Radio is thankful for support from our listeners and from Fellowship Home Loans. Mike and Brian and the team look at each application and try to formulate refinancing solutions for each individual situation. If you'd like more information on possibly refinancing your home, it's available at fellowshiphomeloans.com. That's fellowshiphomeloans.com.
Keeping your eyes on Jesus in a changing culture can be difficult. Let us help. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio, Cleveland.
If you're just tuning in, Joe and Cindi Ferrini are with us. We're chatting about green flags in your relationship. We've talked with them previously about red flags, and those are easy things to talk about. You can probably think of some yourself. But green flags, we should be looking for these if you're in a dating relationship or even reflecting back on a failed relationship. You got to look for green flags as well. We've been chatting about basically two categories, how we can look for green flags in words and in actions. And I think we have a few more of the words to cover. Right, Cindi?
Yes. The next one would just be, can they compliment you sincerely? And, I kind of look at that as sort of one or the other. Do they compliment you or do they criticize you? Watch for that. And so if they can compliment you sincerely, and I don't think, I think it's important, yes, you look nice, or your hair looks nice, if it's the guy to the girl. But if it's something like only physical appearance, I would really wonder about that. I want to hear something about my character.
Yes.
So do they compliment your character and mean it sincerely? I think that's an important one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that.
I'm always glad to do that for sure. I've also taught early on that if I don't have anything good to say about anything or anybody, just don't say it at all. But in these situations here, when I'm in a relationship that I want to pursue, I need to make sure that I am up front with this individual, and I'm desiring to be observant in what's being said here and what's being done. And so I think it's important to just continue to move forward with that. And another thing I think that's important to understand is just there are things that you should not say. And, not everything you are thinking about needs to be said. And there are sometimes words are just, it's best left to be unsaid. And this is a good way to avoid conflict as well in the future. But I think whenever you can, a compliment, a kindness shown in your words is really, I think it adds to the relationship.
And just to take off something he just said here too, you don't have to share everything. Another point that I was making also was that you can both share your thoughts in words without having to watch what you say, like tiptoe around. But I like that Joe said you don't have to share everything either. I think you have to learn wisdom in the things that you say or don't say. So, but on that other side of that, if you have to be so careful and tiptoe about everything you say, because you're afraid you're going to get rebuked, or there's going to be a rebuttal all the time, or some kind of a reaction, that's not healthy. So you want to be able to kind of, what we said before, have difficult conversations. So that kind of covers what we were talking about in words.
Mm-hmm.
And so in actions, I would say, can this other person, can they be happy with and for you? Like when you win or achieve or conquer something, can they celebrate with you, or are they jealous because it's the competition rather than a completion in your relationship?
Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah. We're in here to complete each other, not to compete with each other. And I love that I have this opportunity to, whenever I can, to celebrate victories that Cindi has accomplished or is doing. And for me personally, I have a pretty talented Proverb 31 wife here, and I just need to continue to affirm her whenever possible, and not assume that she knows that I'm approving of her. She needs to hear those words and encourage her whenever I can. And so I think that's an important piece of a relationship.
Amen.
The openness.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And then another one is respecting the other person's boundaries. This goes really well too, I think, with friendships, with workers. It goes with everybody. People should respect your boundaries. Maybe it's certain conversations you don't want to have, and then there's a reason for that, and you've had the deep conversation to understand why. There's it's not just word boundaries, but physical boundaries, and know each other well enough to understand what those boundaries are. And I can, even say, if you're dating and you say, if you don't mind, don't call me after 10 o'clock, because I really like to try to wind it up at 10 o'clock and get to bed so I can get up for work early. If they're calling you at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, they're not listening to your boundary. Outside of an emergency, that should not happen. And one thing I will say, even back in my early teaching days before I was married, my mom was so great about respecting my own boundaries. And this was back before we had any cell phones or voice machines or anything. And she would call my home landline, excuse me, she would ring the phone one time. And that meant she was calling and I can call back whenever. She would know I'm home. Call me back when you can. So that way, if I had friends over or I was going out on a date, I didn't have to like call her back right away because she's calling me on the phone 6 times a day. I felt that was respectful, and that was a simple way, but it was just respecting me. So consider ways that you want your boundaries to be respected as well.
That's good.
Very good. How else can we see some green flags and actions in relationship?
I think it's when there are opportunities for us to step up as men and defend our wives or defend this person that we're thinking of being interested in pursuing to be a wife. They need to know that I'm going to protect them and do whatever I need to do to make sure that they're going to be safe in my presence or safe when we're with the other people. And I think my family knows that people cannot mess with my wife. They cannot mess with my family because I am there to keep them safe and make sure that they're going to be loved and feel supported. And I'm going to support them in whatever I need to do to make sure that they're going to be safe and sound for the future. And people around us know that as well.
And do you feel it?
Yeah.
If I don't feel it, I need to express how I need to be, how I need to feel safe. And if you can't express it, then again, that's a good conversation for a deeper conversation with each other. And then, do they support you in your goals, with your work, with your family, your friends, whatever things you're doing? That kind of goes back to that. Can you be happy with them when they celebrate? And then, will they do small things for you just because they're thinking of you and they're just caring about you and caring for you? If it's just only like, well, here, it's your birthday, that kind of lacks the kind of interest I think you should have in a dating relationship, because it's not going to get better when you get married.
Yeah, you should be able to step up and just do things for each other because you see the need to take care of something. And you don't necessarily need to have a list, although Cindy knows I love lists to be able to work through. But there are times, that when I recognize something's not right, or if I can step up and take care of it, then I'm going to do that. And I know she appreciates that for sure.
Yeah, it's the small things usually. It drives Sarah nuts if somebody leaves like a plate or a glass somewhere in the house. Just pick it up, put it away. Or drives her nuts if it's not in the dishwasher. It's like, come on, we can do these things.
That's right. Yes, and that's a good point. It's those little things that make us more interested in other people, but it's also those little things that really irritate us within a marriage. Why are you not doing this, or why are you not doing that? And so we have to just be careful and mindful of that. And then just to take, we talked about in words to apologize, but in actions, not only should we generously and genuinely apologize, but are you going to see a difference then? If you say, I'm sorry for something, now are you going to change?
Yeah.
Or are you going to apologize every time? So we want to see it in action too.
Yeah, sorry people change is what I try to tell my kids sometimes. It's true. I mean, you can't use it as like grace abuse is what people would do. It doesn't matter. I can just do it again. No, it does matter. If you really care, you're going to at least work on it. You won't be perfect, but you'll work on it.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely right.
And then, along with that, Brian, I think I may have mentioned this before, but when you're dating somebody, and you're a young person, or when you're like a junior high girl and you're looking at all the boys, you're looking at all the cute boys, and maybe if they want the star athlete or something like that, or whatever their interest is, and I used to say when I would teach these young girls, I would say, now listen, look around the room and picture every single girl's father in this room. That's what your husband's going to look like someday. You are not going to have this cute athlete, someday that you're married to, because just what you said, you change.
How did they respond to that, Cindy?
Oh my gosh, their eyes were wide open, their mouths just dropped, and then they would laugh out loud.
Yeah, bring all the dads
hilarious.
in here. That's going to be him.
Yeah.
But it's true, we all, but here's the things, and I would tell them this too, you change too, and that's one thing when I think about so many people doing all this work on their faces and their bodies to make themselves look younger. I just think, you might look a little bit better, but you're still 60 or you're still 70. And so you still look that age. You can't escape. So I think as Christians, we need to be the best that we can be for ourselves, but mostly for God. Who are we as we represent Jesus? And as we do that, then I think we become more beautiful because we're more beautiful from the inside out. And if we're just looking at our outward appearance, then that doesn't really go anywhere. So, and then the last point is to try to understand your feelings and don't minimize them. Share with each other your feelings and don't minimize what the other person is saying, even if you don't agree with them, or you're thinking, well, that's you're being overly sensitive. Listen, you might have something to learn.
That's very good. And again, green flags are an important thing to be watching for. We can't always just be looking for the negative. Look for those positive things. Again, Joe and Cindi Ferrini have been our guests here on Mornings with Brian on WCRF for what we call My Marriage Matters. And I know you like to get resources and you like to connect with people as well online, right?
Sure. Facebook at My Marriage Matters and anytime at cindyferrini.com or joeferrini.com.
Very good. All right. Thanks, you two. Always enjoy our time with you.
Thank you.
Likewise. Take care.
God bless you. It's just about 7 o'clock now. I wonder if our ladies here on the team ever thought about that. When you first met Jimmy, were you like, someday he'll look like an old man? look at all the dads in the room.
At 20, I don't think it crossed my mind.
No, nobody thinks like that. Nobody thinks like that.
I've seen my father-in-law.
And
I know what he looks like.
That's the really uncomfortable one where somebody actually said
he's
that to
going to
me.
look like his dad someday. Yeah.
In many respects, all of us end up. I mean, I did one of those old filters on, I think it was Snapchat, where it does a pretty good job aging you. It's my dad.
I think Jimmy takes after his mom more.
Well, I mean, you can get a sneak preview if you're of dating age. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It can't always be about looks. Not saying my dad doesn't look great. He looks great.
Of course he does.
But he just looks like a much older version of me.
Yes.
All right, it's 7 o'clock. Some really interesting statistics have come out about prison ministry. And I think we got to talk about it. And admittedly, Lauren and I have stumbled on a passion for this as we got to know Pastor Scott Lessing. All of us have in some respects.
Oh, yeah.
But Lauren, you and I and Alan, our engineer at the station here, have a chance to visit prison.
Yeah.
It was I don't want to say life-changing. It was transformative.
It was transformative, yeah.
It's transformative in a number of ways. But how much do people actually care about prison ministry, get involved in it? We've got statistics on that, and we'll talk about it in a few minutes.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and everywhere with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Florida Senator Marco Rubio is supporting former President Trump's proposal to carry out mass deportations. It's 7:01. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. In an appearance on NBC's Meet the Press, Rubio said something dramatic needs to be done to remove millions of people who have entered the U.S. illegally. Trump has vowed to deliver the largest mass deportation effort in American history if he gets back into the White House. A Cleveland man accused of running drugs for music mogul Sean Diddy Combs is cutting a deal with prosecutors. Prosecutors say they have evidence proving the 25-year-old Brendan Paul served as Combs' mule to purchase illegal drugs and oversee the procurement and payment of prostitutes on Combs' behalf. And Cleveland police are investigating after racist flyers were found in the Huff neighborhood. Police say the flyers were dropped at driveways and sidewalks near East 66th Street and Quimby Avenue, which contained racial recruitment propaganda. The flyers were similar to those found in Akron last week, which contained contact information for a Ku Klux Klan group in Kentucky. Anyone with surveillance footage of those who were distributing the flyers is asked to contact police. I'll have sports and weather in just a moment.
Making assumptions is rarely a good idea. That's true when it comes to thinking healthcare costs can't be affordable. Christian Healthcare Ministries has been helping believers meet their healthcare needs for over 40 years. It's not insurance, it's a ministry. Visiting chministries.org/Moody eliminates assumptions and shows how this unique model has worked to meet the healthcare needs of hundreds of thousands of Christians. Get more information and have your questions answered at chministries.org/Moody.
In sports, the Guardians walked off against the Twins 5-2, and the Pirates tamed the Cubs 3-2. Here now is your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Mostly sunny with a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. High temperatures are going to be in the upper 80s. Currently, we've got clear skies in Cleveland at 68 degrees. Clouds have made their way into the Akron-Canton area, where the temperature is 63. And in Youngstown, cloudy and 57 degrees.
It's time for your moron moment.
National Streaming Day is celebrated on May 20th every year. On this day, the revolutionary movement of streaming services and how it introduced a whole new wave of watching movies and TV shows is highlighted. From Netflix, Disney Plus, and Paramount Plus to PureFlix, the insurmountable number of films, series, documentaries, and reality TV shows accessible for streaming in the comfort of your home is fascinating. And most days you can watch this show streaming on Facebook and YouTube. And that's your Moron Moment.
Moron.
And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It is 7:05 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine studio. It's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
A teens community is on Snapchat or on TikTok. And so how would you go about like having both? Like I would want my child to have their community. I don't want them to feel left out. I want them to feel like they're connected. But also there is so much harm in social media. How can we have both?
Honestly, when you give your child Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it is you're going to give them in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, whenever you're going to do that, does that automatically, magically make them so happy and so loved? I mean, it really, truly, if we're honest, it does the opposite, that all of a sudden now it opens up this whole world of like, oh my word, I thought I was good looking, but now I see like a gazillion people who are better looking than me. Is that trait of drama and pain and constantly measuring themselves, is that pain worth it?
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
I'm back. See what I did there? It's double entendre, they call that in the biz. Lauren's slightly entertained. Daria, not at all. Ron enjoyed it. We're back to normal.
Yes.
We're back to normal.
Well, as normal as we usually are.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. But we are pretty fancy pants around here. I leave for a week, and suddenly everybody's giving away Lauren Daigle tickets.
Yep.
You should leave more often.
Apparently, that's the case. Lauren Daigle coming to Cleveland. They added this show to her tour because her tour was so successful. She went to Columbus before. She's here in Cleveland, and we're going to announce the winners coming up here pretty soon.
On the 24th, on Friday.
On Friday? We got 5 pairs of tickets. You can text the word Lauren if you want to enter for your chance to win. Text Lauren to 440-546-2255. Lauren to 440-546-2255. All right, so before we get into the specific topic about prison ministry, I think it's worth looking at a particular passage of Scripture. It's kind of obvious, and yet worth noting. Matthew 25, Jesus is talking to his disciples, and he talks about the sheep and the goats thing. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And here's part of what he says, beginning at verse 35. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison to go visit you? The king replied, truly I tell you, whatever you do for one of the least of these my brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Jesus very clearly saying, these people in great need, the hungry, the thirsty, the naked, the stranger, the sick, and those in prison, those are the ones where when you're caring for them, you're showing love for Jesus. Like he's going, I love when you do this, and you're loving me when you do this, yeah? And I think all those are generally easy for us to do, but I'm struck by the response of a friend of ours. We're going to have him on this week, I think, Mike Swiger.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he works with True Freedom Ministries. And I got to tell you, I was struck recently by an interaction I had with him, a couple of interactions. He's so grateful for us, not just talking to him about his ministry. We talked to a lot of people about their ministries. He's grateful that someone cares at all about prison ministry.
Wow.
And the way he doesn't phrase it like mean or snarky. I saw him over the break, and he was like, and we were talking about it, and he gave me a big hug, and he goes, gosh, I'm just so grateful that you'd, on a day off, talk to me and care about this. Care about this. Because I get the perception from him and Pastor Scott that generally speaking, nobody's paying attention to prisons and prisoners. Like it's easier for society to just lock people in there and just not care anymore.
Forget.
Yeah. I mean, you and I, Lauren, met some guys who've been in for
15, 20 years.
That's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I left that particular circumstance or some other circumstances when I visited prisoners, I try to think to myself, can I encapsulate the last 20 years of my life and totally change it to being in one place in a prison?
No.
Like how slow time goes in the afternoon sometimes. Like when you with your babies.
Yeah.
Time goes slowly.
Yeah, the days are long.
I can't even, you know. Isn't that millennials who say that? I can't even.
Yes. I can't now, but.
Let's see, I'm not totally out of touch, guys.
Everything gets a shorthand.
Yes.
Now instead of it's giving the vibes, it's giving.
I'm so lost. It sounds like Thanksgiving kind of when you say that to me, and I get all weird. So Lifeway Research did a study recently where they got together with multiple prison ministries and surveyed U.S. Protestant churchgoers' actions and attitudes towards inmates and those who've previously been in jail, prison, or in a juvenile facility. Prison ministries want to know, like, how do Christians feel and think and act about this admonition from Jesus to care about those in prison? And churchgoers have strong beliefs about what we should be doing with prison, okay? So churchgoers believe their churches should be involved with prison ministry in some way. About 3 in 4 Christians say local churches have a responsibility to care for families and children of the incarcerated community. 75% of Christians say that.
That's encouraging.
And provide resources and support for youth and adults leaving correctional facilities. About 74% are like, we got to support these people when they get out.
That's good. 2
in 3 believe that local churches have a responsibility to care for the incarcerated in their community.
Okay.
66% of Christians believe that the local church has a responsibility to care for people in prison.
Now, do they talk about if they actually do that type of ministry? Like what percentages? It's okay. It's one thing to think that you need to do this and be a part of it, and you should, but are they actually doing it?
A really big complaint that pastors have is like someone will come in their congregation will come up to them and go, "Man, someone should do this."
Yes.
Yeah.
And then no one does it.
Yeah.
My pastor's busy.
My dad, he's a pastor for campus pastors, so he oversees a bunch of campus pastors, and one was left, so he was basically the acting campus pastor, and that happened to him all the time. They'd be like, "Oh, we should do this," and he's like, "Okay, well, why don't you do it?" And like, "Oh, well,
I'm too busy.
I can't do that." And he's like, "Well,
capable.
Someone's got to do it.
Right.
I can't do everything."
Right. So, I mean, we want people to care. Jesus says we should visit people, not just like be like, you know what, we got to care for those guys. You're asking the right question. We think we should be doing this.
Yeah.
Are we doing it?
Right.
We're going to find out as we continue this discussion and look at the actual statistics on participation for prison ministry here on Mornings with Brian and WCRF coming up in just a minute.
The Every Woman's Bible is a study Bible for the heart and mind. Engaging study notes and devotionals address topics relevant to women with cultural, historical, and literary clarity and context to gain greater understanding. Over 100 Every Woman's Bible scholars, writers, and contributors, all women from around the world, invite you into a global community. Begin your journey today at everywomansbible.com. Tyndale's best-selling Every Man's Bible is also available at tyndale.com.
Moody Radio is thankful for support from Epic Studios. This summer, believers nationwide will join the Million Souls campaign, bringing unsaved family and friends to see the new movie, The Firing Squad, the true story of prisoners who find faith in the face of execution and transform their prison in the process. At the movie's conclusion, co-star Kevin Sorbo comes on screen to lead the theater in a prayer of commitment to Jesus. More information on tickets is available at FiringSquadFilm.com.
Moody Radio is thankful for support from listeners and businesses like Deerfield Ag Services. They help in adaptation of new technologies and techniques of farm and business management. More information about Deerfield Ag and how they can help is at deerfieldagservices.com.
Moody Radio is thankful for support for businesses across the country like Fellowship Home Loans. Whether purchasing or refinancing a home, Mike and Brian walk hand in hand with clients through the whole process. You can learn more about their approach to mortgage lending at fellowshiphomeloans.com.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland. 6 to 9 a.m. weekdays on 3.3.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
721 WCRF, Mornings with Brian. It's good to be back. Special thanks to the team. They did a lot of hard work. They always do, but even more in my absence. And so I'm very, very grateful for that. Also, hey, David Mullane from Yost Insurance is going to be with us here coming up from 7:30 to 8 to answer your Medicare questions. A lot of people have questions about Medicare.
Yeah.
And get them answered. All you have to do is you can text them in now if you want, 440-546-2255, 440-546-2255. Well, because of our friends Mike Swiger and Pastor Scott Lessing, who was on the show on Friday, we've become passionate about prison ministry. And if I'm being totally transparent with you, prior to Pastor Scott getting plugged into prison ministry, I was just kind of like from a distance going, hey, I'm glad that guy's doing it. And I didn't care. I know it sounds harsh on me, but I didn't care.
That's honest.
I didn't think about prisoners or prison. And, but I sure thought somebody should, because Jesus said they should.
Right.
Shouldn't be me.
Right.
But it should be somebody.
Man, someone ought to do this.
Yeah, I love the way you phrased that for the break there. Yeah. Matthew 25 talks about it very specifically. You can go look it up from Jesus himself. Lifeway did a study with a bunch of prison ministries and found out that Christians in general, the vast majority, around 3/4, think local churches should be doing something and caring about people who are incarcerated right now. Okay? That's what they found. But Lauren is like, haha, but do they? Are they? Well, here's the statistics. 1 in 4 churchgoers, or 25%, have been involved in ministry among the incarcerated, formerly incarcerated, or their families. Now, when I first heard that, again, 25% say they've been involved in ministry among the incarcerated, formerly incarcerated, or their families. Like, if I was asked that, Sarah and I, I think 2 years did Angel Tree. You know what Angel Tree is?
Yeah.
If you don't know Angel Tree, it's like, I think it's for prison fellowship.
I believe so.
Like you get presents for the kids, people who are incarcerated. So your church has a tree. There's ornaments on it that describe the age of a kid, blah, blah, blah. You do it. You bring the gift back. I could check that I've done that. Like if I did Angel Tree for a year, couldn't I say that
He's been a part of it, yeah.
that I've been involved in ministry to the families of incarcerated people?
Yeah.
It's about as removed as you could get. You don't even have to see their children. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking it. I think it's a great ministry. Trust me. But then when it gets more specific, what percent say they're currently participating in some form of ministry to the incarcerated? 4%. 4% of followers of Christ.
Wow.
Say they're currently participating.
That is a big drop off.
I'll be honest, I'm not too bothered by that number because
Okay, talk to me.
Everybody has their own pet passions, and you can't be involved in everything. I'm sure that's not to say that they're not involved heavily in something else. Maybe that's just not what they've chosen to do with their time.
Right. But if that's the case, let's just look at, and I'm just chatting with you about this, because I think you make a good point. If you look at Matthew 25, right, Jesus makes a list of things. Those who are hungry, thirsty, they're a stranger, need clothes, or they're in prison, okay, or they're sick. Do you think it's an equal percentage of those who are doing something and caring actively about the other ones?
Yeah, probably not.
And that's where I say, you're right, I'm glad someone's doing it. We don't all have to do it. But Jesus makes a list. I feel like I don't have the percentages, but I think it's a pretty safe bet that the other ones are a lot higher.
Yeah.
No, I do agree with you. I think we've seen in the conversations we've had about like death row, there was a lot of cold-heartedness towards prisoners. I don't know if that's an American thing or an American Christian thing because of a warped view of what justice in the Bible looks like or what's going on.
Yeah, and that's been, as we've learned more about this, Lauren, you and I, doing some work on our own, looking into prisons in the U.S., Christians in general have a very punitive view. It's like, well, you shouldn't have broken the law. Get in there. I don't care about you. Who cares what prison's like? In fact, maybe you should be a little uncomfortable the whole time. You and I have a theological problem with that.
Yeah, I think being separated from your family, from your society, getting most of your rights taken away as a citizen, and living in a place, secluded. I don't think you need additional punishment. That's outside of that. I don't think you deserve to get moldy bread.
Right.
I think being separated from all of those things is the point. I don't think you need to heap on a bunch of other things onto that.
Right. And I would say, theologically, we have to remember that we are no different than incarcerated people.
Mm-hmm.
If Jesus said, if you hate your brother in your heart, you've committed murder, you're no different than a murderer in prison.
Yeah.
Some people think that's crazy to say that, but I mean, this truly, spiritually speaking.
You're not the one who said it.
I know. Jesus said it.
Yeah.
But we've got this thing where it's like we forget about grace when we're talking about the incarcerated. Like, well, they deserve it.
It's
well, what about
because-
you?
yeah.
You deserve it.
I mean, it's because what they did is so extremely offensive. And so it
Well,
feels
but
right.
what I did is offensive.
Yes.
God is equally
But it's
as
in
offended.
your mind, so we don't see it.
Right.
The only difference between them and us is we had the filter on our actions that they did not have for whatever reason.
Well, and for many people walking around, the only difference is that they got caught.
That too.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Now, I was a little surprised to hear something else, though. Check this out. When the survey went on to find out, like, how many of you have either been incarcerated or know somebody or related to somebody who's incarcerated? 45%, so almost half of churchgoers, say they have a friend or acquaintance that spent time in jail, prison, or a juvenile facility. Like they know somebody who's been in jail. More than a third, or 35%, say an immediate family member has been incarcerated. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
I was very surprised to see that.
So you'd think that if they had someone in their family, it would the number of people involved would be a little bit higher than 4%.
Exactly.
And I also say there's a lot of followers of Jesus who are ashamed of it and don't admit it.
Right.
I mean, that statistic would indicate all of us would know a couple of people in our church family who have someone who is incarcerated in their family. Are we creating an environment in our churches where it's safe to talk about that? The same percentage, 35%, have personally visited a correctional facility, and 12% have themselves been incarcerated. 12% of Christians have been incarcerated.
What do you mean by creating a safe place to talk about it? Why would church not be a safe place to talk about this?
You would be fearful of the social repercussions if someone knew that your brother or parent or child was in prison.
Okay.
Shouldn't we fix that?
Oh, yeah, Daria. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're all just sinners saved by grace. And we seem to have come a long way with substance abuse and addiction issues, and bringing people in who are suffering with that, helping them through it, or have suffered with that in the past. So why not people who've been to prison and are recovering from that?
Yeah. Churchgoers predominantly view most people who've been incarcerated as deserving a second chance, 79%.
Wow.
Our system doesn't
That's
reflect
great.
that.
No, our system does not.
Attitudes.
I'm glad that Christians believe that and hope for that.
But does that belief translate into one's, how do you say, civic engagement, civic opinions about incarceration? Like, you can't think prisoners deserve a second chance and then be totally cool with prison conditions the way they are.
I think a lot of people don't know what prison conditions are like.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not. You and I do.
We do.
And 69% of churchgoers think that the incarcerated are deserving of help.
That's a good number.
I'm really encouraged by these numbers from the survey.
I'm encouraged by the way people check the boxes, but I'm not certain we've translated that into how does a biblical concept turn into, is political the word? Political thinking / maybe it's not the right word. The way we think
It's a
about
government system.
Well, yes, it has to be political in
Yeah,
nature. Like, does that biblical view translate to the way we view the prison system in general, incarcerated people in general, and how they should be treated? And the way we actually engage with them. Not someone should do that, as Daria pointed out.
Yeah.
But are we actually doing something?
I wonder if it feels just like too big of a system to change. Like we're already so far down this road and we're just like tumbling along, and it's hard to get our head around how to help.
And you might have a point too, Brian, with do their feelings translate into action? Like if I come up to you and say, do you think that puppies deserve to be kicked repeatedly? Obviously, you're going to say no. That doesn't mean you're going to go volunteer at an animal shelter, though.
Or that you go save all the puppies at the animal shelter.
Yeah, and when I've talked to our friends Mike Swiger and Pastor Scott Lessing about, like, the more you and I learn about the prison system, and I'll say, well, how can this be like this? I mean, how do people put up with this? They'll say, people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've seen things I can't even, yeah. But whatever.
And we went to a good one.
You know, right? I mean, we actually had a wonderful experience, our experience with Warden Galise Black at Lorraine Correctional. She's trying to make a real difference.
Yeah.
She's trying to make sure people are rehabilitated and cared for.
Mm-hmm. And treated as humans.
Yes.
And can I just add, pray for Warden Black that she can be successful in the implementation of her reforms, and that it would populate other prisons as well.
Yeah. It's 7:33. We have to get to a break. There's much more I'd like to say about it, but we can't because we got to get to a break. And we've got our friend David Mullane coming in just a minute. Mm-hmm. He is Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Medicare at Yost Insurance. You got a question about Medicare? He's got an answer. Call or text right now, 440-546-2255.
The Bible teaches us that love is more than an emotion. It's an action. But Dr. Tony Evans says that it's also a logo. He explains as we spend 2 minutes with Tony.
Designers have their trademarks or their logos. When you go shopping at the grocery store, you know what's on the inside of the bottle and the can because there is a label on the outside. Even each of us have our unique birthmarks or fingerprints that gives us a unique identity. God has a trademark, something for which he wishes to be known, something that is a unique identification mark of who he is and who belongs to him. And the trademark of God Almighty is love. Love is the thing that God wants to be his logo, trademark, his identification. He wants to be known and seen and recognized for love. God does not just love, that's what he is. So he who loves has hooked into what God is. So God wants you to link up to who he is, and you do that, he says, when you love, seek the betterment of others, you are really positioning yourself to experiencing God at another level. God sent his only begotten Son into the world that we might live through him.
If you've never experienced what it's like to have a personal relationship with God, find out how you can by visiting tonyevans.org. And be sure to join us next time for 2 Minutes with Tony.
What is love? More specifically, what is agape love? This week on the Car Seat Questions podcast, we'll learn how to introduce our kids to the idea of God's agape love with Megan Clunan.
Find the Car Seat Questions podcast on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform.
Author Becky Beresford believed what she now calls culture's lies, that a woman can do it all if she just believes in herself to find the power to succeed. It left her tired and frustrated with self-dependence. In her book, She Believed He Could, So She Did, Becky shares her growth from believe in yourself to believe in your God, from follow your heart to follow your King. She believed he could, so she did. Available now at moodybooks.org.
Keeping your eyes on Jesus in a changing culture can be difficult. Let us help. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio, Cleveland.
7:36. I am so glad to be back, and I am so grateful for my friends and colleagues, Lauren Cuevas, Daria Swisher, and Ron Eastwood, who held down the fort so well. They barely even need me to come back. They're so amazing.
Barely.
I know Lauren was ready for you to come back.
Yes.
Because you were doing double duty, as they say. So thank you for your hard work.
Of course.
I'm very grateful. And also, by the way, while I was gone, they decided to give away Lauren Daigle tickets. So would you like to see Lauren Daigle live in concert? We have 5 pairs of tickets we're giving away. Text the word Lauren to 440-546-2255. Joining us now to answer your questions about Medicare. Do you have Medicare questions? I know you do, because let's be honest, it barely makes sense. You can call or text right now, 440-546-2255, 440-546-2255. Call or text, because David Mullane is with us. He's Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Medicare at Yost Insurance Agency. Welcome back, David.
Good morning, Brian. Welcome back to you.
Thank you. It was a staycation. I mowed. I drove kids places. It was regular minus work. So,
yeah, it sounds like you beefed up on language, too. It was impressive as an English teacher to hear you use double entendre correctly a little bit earlier today.
Did I use it correctly?
You did, in fact. I was very, very impressed. Very impressed.
And you should particularly be impressed when there was a particular English teacher when I went to high school who did a dramatic vocabulary thing, and I intentionally didn't take his class. I didn't want to do it. So
I don't blame you. I would have made the same move, and I am an English teacher, and you know, one thing, Brian, with you and I both being former teachers, I think this time of year, just urging our listeners out there to take into prayer our teachers, and in particular the students. I don't know that everybody thinks about this, and I know this doesn't have anything to do with Medicare, but for some students, breaks are the worst, right?
That's right.
School is their safe haven. It's where they get that support and that love and that encouragement. So our listeners out there, just keep teachers in prayer as they end the school year, and those students that are going into uncertainty without that stability that schools provide in a couple weeks here.
Yeah, that was a tough lesson I learned, David, years ago. I remember I had a kid who was really acting out before, I think it was Thanksgiving break. And the school social worker had to pull me aside and say, Brian, this kid, his dad is a drug addict and is never home. He has no food in the cupboards. He's stressed out. I was like, oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. No wonder he's acting out. So you make a really great point, and I hope folks remember that and pray over it. But we are here to talk a bit about Medicare with you. Again, if you have a question about Medicare, 440-546-2255. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the Inflation Reduction Act, which I like the sounds of that.
Yeah, it sounds good, and for a lot of people, we're hoping it's going to be good. There are some things associated with it that we don't know yet that make us somewhat concerned, only in the sense that we feel this coming annual enrollment period, so October 15th through December 7th of this year, it's really, really important if you have a prescription drug plan or a Medicare Advantage plan that you meet with an agent to have a review. The Inflation Reduction Act is going to cap, starting in January of 2025, out-of-pocket prescription drug costs at $2,000. Now, that's a fundamental change. The cap right now is right around $8,000.
Oh, wow. That's a huge change.
It is, and it sounds somewhat bigger than it is because there's a lot of layers in the current formula that includes contributions from the drug companies and the carriers, but still it represents a massive savings for many people that have high-cost drugs. The concern is, what does it do to everything else? So what happens to those Part D plan premiums as a result of this? What happens to formularies? Are there carriers that maybe change their formulary dramatically to adjust to this change? We've already seen one carrier that we have known for quite a while who's pulled out completely and said, we're no longer offering drug plans. So we just want to make sure people are aware of the change. We do feel it's going to be positive, but this is a really important year to get on the calendar with a live local agent to have that no cost benefits review so you know what to expect in January of 2025.
Now, with the Inflation Reduction Act, is that just about Medicare, or folks not on Medicare will be impacted by that as well? Do you know?
Well, most of the changes to health care are specific to Medicare.
Okay.
But there's a whole plethora of changes that come through that bill. We are obviously focused on these pieces, but I think this is probably the biggest, topic that we need to address is just how drug pricing is going to change. And there's one more weird provision that we don't know a lot of details about yet, but it's kind of exciting. they're talking about almost a layaway model for prescriptions for retirees, where right now, the way that it is, you could pay 4 different prices for your medications throughout a calendar year. They're talking about this balanced billing approach almost, where you can divide the cost of your medications evenly throughout the year. So we don't know the details about that yet, but we're really excited about the potential for that for our clients.
And, you know, for folks who are approaching the age where you'd qualify for Medicare, I would imagine one of the biggest stresses is prescriptions, because some folks, as they get older, end up on really expensive medications, right? You must see this a lot.
100%. It can be the driver of what plan they choose. It can really have dramatic effects on their overall income. And retiring is stressful enough. A lot of meetings that we have with people that are coming into Medicare, they end up being about a lot more than just health insurance, right? A lot of times those people are giving up their identity. Yeah. They're struggling with that choice to leave that profession that they've had for a very long time. So it's cathartic for a lot of people, and we're almost counselors in a sense, because we're helping them walk through not only those healthcare options, but giving them positive encouragement for the next chapter in life, right?
Now, you mentioned open enrollment begins in October. When should folks start thinking about reviewing their plans? Should they wait till August or something, or what do you suggest?
Generally speaking, in past years, you could wait until August or September to get on the calendar with an agent. I just feel like we're going to be overrun with reviews this year because of this change. In my time in Medicare, more than 8 years, I've never seen a change as substantial as this. And I just want to make sure that people are hearing about it early so that you can contact your local agent, get on their calendar now for that time period, for that review. It doesn't cost you anything to have a review. And one misconception out there, you can go on Medicare.gov on your own and pick your own plan and enroll in your own plan. That costs you the same amount of money as meeting with an agent who specializes in this and can help you navigate what options are out there for you and what might fit your needs the very best.
And now for someone who's going to be right at the qualifying age at this point, how far in advance do they have to actually enroll before open enrollment? Or is it you have to wait till October, your first time?
No, if you're aging into Medicare, you get something called the initial enrollment period. So you get 3 months before the month of your birth, the month of your birth, and 3 months after the month of your birth. So it's a 7-month window.
Oh, wow.
Where you can enroll in Medicare Part A and Part B and choose any supporting plan that you want to have to supplement that.
So you don't have to wait for open enrollment. It's birthday based.
It is for those people that are aging in. And then the government also allows some special enrollment periods for people that move or people that are maybe above the age of 65 who continue to work but now are retiring, and a whole other set of circumstances that the government allows special enrollment options. So that annual enrollment period is specifically for people to review their plan options, specifically Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plan options, because the carriers are allowed to make these changes for the following January.
Wonderful. At 7:45, our guest is David Mullane. He is Vice President of Strategic Partnerships in Medicare with Yost Insurance Agency. Again, this is Mornings with Brian on WCRF. Do you have questions about Medicare? Give us a call or text 440-546-2255, 440-546-2255.
Moody Radio's mobile app is a great way to listen to Moody Radio anywhere you go. Stream any of Moody Radio's internet stations, including the Praise and Worship Channel, Majesty Radio, and Urban Praise. Download it for free on Google Play or iTunes.
Moody Radio is on the air thanks to support of listeners and Hawkins Sales. They've been serving the electrical industry nationwide for over 30 years. More information about Hawkins Sales is at hawkinssales.com.
You know, you see a huge group of people and maybe they're in line to do something and they seem happy about it. You have to wonder, okay, what am I missing? What's going on here? What are these people excited about? Well, in this case, it's thousands of people and they're joining Medishare. Why? Well, Medishare is a much more affordable alternative to health insurance. It's reliable, too. It's a well-run community of Christians. They've been sharing each other's medical expenses for more than 30 years, so it's proven. And if you switch, you'll likely save hundreds of dollars a month. Most members wind up paying about half what they used to. And you know what? They find they like it better. Medishare's member satisfaction rate is 98%. That's way better than health insurance, as you might imagine. You don't have to pay for things you don't believe in. You get telehealth 24/7, huge freedom in choosing your doctors. At least check into it. This may be one of those things where you're like, why didn't I do this a long time ago? Why not start saving now? Call 877-58-BIBLE. That's 877-58-BIBLE. 877-58-BIBLE.
Can you believe it? It's another presidential election year. Everybody loves condescending political ads, angry protests, and doomsday rhetoric. Or maybe you're like us and you're sick of the partisan politics, tired of all the fighting. Ready for something different? Give our morning show a try. We take on all the issues, but we sift through the noise, searching for honest conversation that leads to lasting change. If you don't know, ask somebody. It happened earlier this morning. Join us for Mornings with Brian, weekdays starting at 6 a.m. on 103.3 FM.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
WCRF at 7:50 here on Mornings with Brian, and our guest, David Mullane, Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Medicare at Yost Insurance, ready to answer your Medicare questions. 440-546-2255. You ready for questions, David?
I sure am. Let's do it.
My husband just turned 65 and went with a supplement, but when we hear about all the freebies that Advantage Plans gives, it seems like doctors accept that plan even though we heard many don't. Also, if you travel out of state, we heard the supplement is better. What do you think?
Really, really, really good question. And that kind of gets to the heart of the matter of what's different between these two options, Medicare supplement plans and Medicare Advantage plans. Before we get into that, one quick note on MedSups. So June is usually the month where MedSup carriers implement an inflation-related increase or call it almost like a cost of living increase to Medicare supplement premiums. We are seeing those higher this year than they have been in previous years. So just don't be alarmed. A lot of people that have Medicare get so much mail that they don't see those premium increase notifications coming. Make sure you check with your MedSup carrier to find out what your premium is going to be starting June 1st. But to that question, so a Medicare supplement plan generally is going to give you unlimited access to doctors all over the country as long as they take Medicare. Because when you have a Medicare supplement, your insurance is through Medicare, the federal government, right? So you're not dealing with a go-between. You don't have an insurance carrier between you and the medical providers. Now, to that listener's question, they're accurate. Medicare Advantage plans in our area, so out there, we're very fortunate in Northeast Ohio. We have access to some of the world's best hospitals within a 60 to 90 minute drive of most places in Northeast Ohio. So that makes the Advantage plans in Northeast Ohio something that people consider. They're generally lower cost. They're generally going to give you some of those extra benefits, and many doctors in our area are in network. And there are some Advantage plans that are PPOs, meaning you can go to doctors all over the country. There are other Medicare Advantage plans that have national HMO networks, which means you can go to any doctor in their specific network. But unlike that PPO, you do not get the ability to go to doctors outside of the network. So all that to say, supplement plans and Medicare Advantage plans are both good options, but it really comes down to the individual. It comes down to the family. It comes down to finances. And it really comes down to individual needs. And that's why we take our time going over those options with clients. We're here to help you understand the options, not to tell you which one to pick.
Yeah, because that's just it, right? I mean, each plan is designed for people of various circumstances, and each of us is so different.
Yeah, without a doubt. And when you get into Medicare Advantage plans, there's over 80 in my zip code alone. So it does take some knowledge. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's like gross. That's so many. 80?
80, yeah. And you said it perfectly. They're designed for people with different needs.
Wow. All right, well, we got more questions. Again, you can get yours in by call or text. Medicare questions for David Mullane of Yost Insurance, 440-546-2255.
I pay $0. I don't have anything for it at all, so I don't know if it makes a difference or not, if Medicare makes a difference or not. Let me see. That might go with another one. Hold on. I might have separated them. Let's see if these go together. I'm turning 65 in May, but I'm continuing to work and have good insurance coverage. Do I need to do anything about Medicare while I'm covered under an employer? Yeah, here it is. I pay $0. I don't have anything for it at all, so I don't know if it makes a difference or not.
Yeah, when you look at that situation, so we get this more and more now, which is maybe not a good sign. A lot of people are now working well past 65, and that has really dramatically changed over the last 4 or 5 years. But you can, if you're working past age 65, or if you have coverage through a spouse, you do not necessarily need to take your Medicare benefits at age 65. But what you want to do is carefully compare the cost of what you currently have and the benefits that you currently have with your Medicare options, right? You don't want to pass up an opportunity to maybe have better coverage at a lower cost, which is the case for some people when they turn 65, even if they continue to work. But if you have really great coverage, like this listener is saying, no cost, and maybe the plan is outstanding, as long as that plan meets the federal guidelines for creditable health coverage, you can keep that plan, and you do not need to sign up for Medicare until the point that you're going to leave that plan. Now, the one thing about that is a lot of people in that situation do sign up for Medicare Part A, because for most people, there's no premium associated with Medicare Part A.
Oh, I see. So why not sign up for it if it's $0?
Yeah, exactly. And in that case, Medicare Part A would become secondary as long as your employer has more than 20 employees. So just like with Medicare Advantage, there's a lot of layers involved in this. And even if we don't think we can help you as agents with a plan that we represent at this point in time, we're still here to walk you through those options, the differences between employers with 20 or more or 20 or less employees, and to make sure that your coverage is what is ideal for you. And many times we're going to tell you, hey, right now you need to stick with what you have because it's more cost effective and it's great coverage.
Yeah, if their premiums are $0, that's a really good plan. I mean, there's not many places you can work where you don't pay anything for health insurance.
Yeah, that sounds really good. My question would be, is there a deductible? You know, do they have to pay $5,000 out of pocket before the plan pays?
Yeah.
And what's the maximum, right, Brian? What if they have a $25,000 max out of pocket?
Ugh.
So, you know, we want to look at all those details and all that nuance and make really informed decisions.
Yeah, see, clearly I have no clue what I'm talking about. It's like, oh, wow, $0. That's great. Boom. That's why I'm glad you're here. 440-546-2255. What's next?
Do all medical providers recognize Medicare Advantage?
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah. Do all medical providers recognize Medicare Advantage?
No. So that is where that MedSup is going to give you access to any doctor who accepts Medicare. Medicare Advantage plans are carrier specific, and those carriers negotiate their network. They negotiate the relationship with providers and hospitals. And so there are doctors that might take, for example, a medical mutual plan, but maybe they don't take a plan from Aetna or somebody else. So Medicare Advantage plans are generally going to be network specific.
And with that in mind, is it safe to assume that networks inform their clients/patients when something may change? Or how do people find out if they're going to still be covered next year, I guess, is another way to ask that.
Yeah, that's something, again, that we would review during the annual enrollment period. But if it's a big, medical network, let's say, for example, the Cleveland Clinic, if the Cleveland Clinic is going to leave a Medicare Advantage plans network, you're going to know about that as a recipient. You're going to get letters. You're going to hear about it on TV. You're going to hear about it on the radio. So you're going to be informed for those big network changes. The harder ones might be, that one-off doctor that has a private practice who hasn't come into a bigger umbrella like the Cleveland Clinic. You might not hear about that. So that's something else that we check during the annual enrollment period, is to make sure that your doctors will be in network for the following January.
And it sounds like, even though you get lots of mail once you're in Medicare, it sounds like you're also saying, check your mail, even if you hate how much there is.
100%. And honestly, Brian, it can be really difficult. Like, we actually mail out to people in our area like a mailbag, and we tell them, just throw all the mail that you're about to get.
Really?
We do. It's astonishing how much mail people get. And so, unfortunately, what happens is they get overwhelmed, and they don't recognize the important mailings amidst all the junk.
It's hard to tell
It's really
sometimes.
misfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, I always get excited when you get the junk mail. It looks like someone's randomly mailing you a check. I'm like, oh, look at Sarah, we got some money in here. No, that's not it at all. So I can imagine that's just multiplied with Medicare.
It's absolutely unbelievable. And I always thought a great billboard would be, a person sitting at a kitchen table with just piles of marketing mail all around them, and someone saying, if you're overwhelmed by this, just give me a call, And
maybe you should do that, David.
maybe.
Again, David Mullane is Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Medicare at Yost Insurance Agency. Again, Yost Insurance Agency. If you want to reach out to them, the best way to do it, come to us. We'd love to connect you with David and the team there at Yost Insurance. Thanks for your time, my friend, and for lending your expertise. I know there's lots of questions out there. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Have a great day, guys.
You too. Do you guys ever get tricked by those? Like, I hopefully wish somebody will randomly send me a check.
I don't get tricked by them, no.
Like, you open it, though.
I usually know if money's coming for me.
No, but you open it like...
No, I don't.
Maybe. You don't?
No.
But what if?
Well, you can usually tell that, it's
Apparently
a marketing
Brian
pay to the order of
If
Ron
you're not expecting
Eastwood.
it, it's junk.
Yeah.
But people might want to send me money.
No, they don't.
A guy can hope. I feel like it's kind of fun. Oh, well. I guess I'm the only one that... Sarah usually goes through that stuff, but when I see it, I'm like, oh, look at this. It's going to be all better now. No. Okay, it's 8:01, time for a quick break, and we come back. Our friend Dan Colontone is back. He's president of the Northeast Ohio Leadership Foundation. We have much to discuss, plus we're not too far away from talking about artificial intelligence, preachers, and teachers. Americans were surveyed about that and what AI can do for their spiritual lives. And they've got opinions. All that to come here in the next hour.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and everywhere with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is due back in British court today to learn if he'll be extradited to the U.S. It's 8:02. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. The Australian is wanted here for publishing classified government documents online, but has fought extradition for years, including time he spent in the Ecuadorian embassy in London until he was kicked out of there. A key issue that has been held up for his extradition was whether he would face the death penalty here in the U.S. The search for a new Akron police chief is over. Mayor Shamus Malik on Friday announced that Brian Harding, who has been serving as interim chief, will now have the job outright. Harding is a 28-year veteran of the Akron Police Department. And the Ohio Department of Natural Resources is sharing some reminders in recognition of National Safe Boating Week. They say individuals should always avoid operating a boat while intoxicated, leave a float plan with someone on shore, and remain aware of their surroundings. I'll be right back with sports and weather.
If you've been thinking about a career in aviation, consider a Bachelor of Science degree in Missionary Aviation Technology from Moody Bible Institute. Flight majors earn an average of 325 flight hours, including over 100 hours of flight experience in high-performance aircraft. You'll be fully trained to get your private, instrument, and commercial pilot certification immediately after graduation. And you'll have a foundation in Bible and avionics technical training. Visit moody.edu/aviation. That's moody.edu/aviation.
In sports, the Guardians walked off the Twins 5-2, while the Pirates tamed the Cubs 3-2. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Mostly sunny with a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. High temperatures in the upper 80s. Wow. At last check, we had clear skies, now 71 degrees in Cleveland. Akron and Canton, the skies have cleared and it's 66. Ashtabula, clear skies and 64 degrees.
It's time for your moron moment.
National Streaming Day is celebrated on May 20th every year. On this day, the revolutionary movement of streaming services and how it introduced a whole new wave of watching movies and TV shows is highlighted. From Netflix, Disney Plus, and Paramount Plus to PureFlix, the insurmountable number of films, series, documentaries, and reality TV shows accessible for streaming in the comfort of your own home is fascinating. And most days, you can watch this show streaming on Facebook and YouTube. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 8:05. With Moody Radio News, I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine Studio. It's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
It's 8:09 on WCRF, Mornings with Brian. I've been doing it all morning. I'll keep doing it because I'm so grateful. Thank you, Lauren Cuevas, Daria Swisher, and Ron Eastwood for carrying the extra load when I was out. It was a restful break in many respects, and I am grateful for all of you. You're the best.
You're welcome.
Anytime. You deserve a break. So.
Did you miss me? A
No.
little bit?
By Friday, yes.
By Friday. Okay. Daria still doesn't miss me. She's like, can you take another week, maybe? That's not true. She's a sweetheart. Okay. In studio with us now, he's a friend and regular contributor. He is president of the Northeast Ohio Leadership Foundation. Welcome back to the show, Dan Colontone.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. It's great to be here this morning.
I bet you missed me last week.
Definitely missed you last week. I listened every day, and my wife, Lori, she listens every day, too. And by the way, you have an amazing team. Let me just say, and I appreciate you saying that, an amazing team. The best in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, they make me look good, and that's a lot of work. Laura?
This job is harder than it looks.
I sent an email 2 weeks ago, and I said, my job is to make Brian's job easier.
Yeah.
And it's
It's
true.
a lot more than that.
But it's true. But that is my job.
But it's a lot more than that.
Make you successful at your job.
I mean, there's only so much Laura can do when he can't read the pages that she's graciously printed out.
Like with the Ferrinis this morning, they're talking about red flags. No, they aren't.
Yeah. I'm working on it. I'm a lot to wrangle. I'm like herding cats, kind of.
Yeah.
I've heard that's difficult.
You're multiple
It
cats,
is.
but
I
you're
have
just
two
one.
of them.
But Dan, I made him tell me he missed me, basically, which was nice to do on radio. But you're not here to talk about that. Again, let's chat a little bit today about the Northeast Ohio Leadership Foundation. You've been bringing in friends for months to introduce us to them. Can you give us kind of the background of the Northeast Ohio Leadership Foundation? How old is the organization again?
Well, there's over close to 55 cities across the world, mostly in the United States. It started a few decades back, and it really was something that the faith community came together and said, how could we actually work closer together strategically as an intermediary to bring organizations of faith, churches, pastors, ministry leaders, marketplace leaders, organizations of faith. How can we bring them together for spiritual transformation for the kingdom in the urban center of the cities and do missions in the cities? And
so be a connector in many respects.
It's just simple as connecting, convening. I mean, all these C words, right? You know.
Well,
you
yeah,
use
but
the
I mean, you
but
call it simple, but it's not.
connecting.
It's not simple because
It's
so
not.
often there's great things happening in cities in isolation from one another, just because people don't know.
And, missions around the world, our church, you want to see the church. We've talked about this on our show when we've had guests. You want the church, you want the congregation to be outside the walls of the church.
That's right.
Right? And not just there, but then also in the backyard, there's this ministry that's working in prison ministry or the opioid addiction or health or housing. Well, the basic needs we take advantage of. I was in Chamber of Commerce for 40 years or so, right? And did economic prosperity for businesses. And I was in a silo, right? For businesses. But to think outside of the silo for those in the disparity part, the tough parts of our city. I mean, by the way, our market, and I don't really apologize for this, but it's a fact. Cleveland has one of the highest poverty rates. And Cleveland also, so you want to talk about the why, we also have one of the highest percentages of philanthropic dollars. So
Interesting.
How do we...
Really?
Absolutely. You look up the facts and you see the wealth and generation. I mean, this is a giving market. This is a giving market, Northeastern Ohio.
Yeah.
And so how do we work closer together in a unified way to have collective impact? And God calls us to be unified and to use our God-given time and talent and treasure together. It's just remarkable. And we've seen real momentum over the last 3 years up to today. That's why I wanted to kind of share some thoughts with you personally without bringing on a guest today.
Well, and I think it was it 15 years ago you all launched?
Yeah, it was 2010. There were half a dozen men that got on fire for the Lord and for the kingdom, and really started with a program called LifeWork Leadership. And there were a leadership program. They didn't have full-time staff. And about 4 years ago, I connected with some of the leaders in Cleveland, being from the west side of Akron, and have been a volunteer in Akron with this type of work. And I started full-time three years ago.
Yeah, and it's powerfully transformative to unite people that are already doing good or have a desire to do good I bring this up a lot with you, I think, but I remember reading this powerful piece, I think it was from the Houston Chronicle, about there's a city in Texas that has managed to dramatically reduce their homelessness rate simply by creating a department that unites nonprofits, like connects them together.
You know, it's one of our investors, one of our fundamental supporters. I'll never forget the first time, my first year, I went on a listening tour and I started talking to all these different stakeholder groups, right? And it's a big vision, start small, go deep, and progressively get there. Well, look at like Austin. Austin's got a city for homelessness, for homelessness. So there's not any new ideas, and just sharing these best practices and bringing them to Cleveland. And by the way, it's already going on in Cleveland. But as we've talked before on this show, you kind of got East Side, West Side, Central, South, and there's a little bit of that, you know, not working together kind of siloed mentality. And by the way, not by design.
No, it's true, though, because I think there's a lot of pride in local community in this region. I didn't get it until I was here. My wife and I started off in Broadview Heights, and as we first moved there, I remember we would hang out with people, and we're trying to meet other transplants, and there aren't many, to be honest with you. We'd be like, "Oh, are you from around here?" And people go, "Oh, I'm not from around here. We're in Broadview Heights." And they, "Oh, you're not from? Where are you from?" "Oh, I'm from Akron."
Yeah.
I didn't ask if you're from this very place we're standing. I meant just generally, like Ohio. But no, it's like people from Akron will be offended if they're lumped into statistics with Cleveland.
Well, here's the other fact, that I was the middle brother for 17 years. And I like to say that, right? Because Youngstown, kind of over there to the east, but you got little brother Canton, you got middle brother Akron. And by the way, the folks in Canton go folks in Akron go, well, we're down here.
Yeah,
well, you don't really see Akron leaders go down to Canton and Akron or Cleveland going down, but it's one market. It's one area.
It really is one area that I think the more we can inspire folks to connect what they're already doing for God's kingdom in a good way, or their desire to do so, can make a big difference. And again, we'll continue talking about that very issue with our friend Dan Colontone here on WCRF, Mornings with Brian. He's president of the Northeast Ohio Leadership Foundation.
Your partnership with Moody continues to be a great blessing in helping us share the gospel, and is also evidence of your good biblical stewardship. Did you know that you can make a gift using an appreciated asset like stock or a mutual fund and receive income for life while also leaving a generous legacy gift to Moody too? Sound too good to be true? To learn more about these life income gifts, such as a charitable gift annuity, visit us at moodylegacy.org/lifeincome.
19. That's how many pairs of shoes the average American has in their closet. 1. That's how many pairs of shoes it takes to share health, education, opportunity, and the love of Christ to a child in need in the world. Buckner Shoes for Orphan Souls has been meeting this need, providing more than 5 million pairs of shoes to children in some of the most vulnerable communities in the world. That's over 5 million opportunities to put a smile on the face of a child and show the love of Christ to boys and girls living in desperate situations. Many times these shoes introduce families to Christ-centered programs, helping them to rise above poverty and achieve their God-given potential. You can make a difference now. Join Buckner Shoes for Orphan Souls in changing the lives of children across the world through the gift of shoes. I'm Rob West, inviting you to provide shoes today by visiting GiveShoesToday.org. That's GiveShoesToday.org.
Keeping your eyes on Jesus.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
It is 8:22, and you are listening to WCRF and Mornings with Brian. Our guest in studio, Dan Colontone. He is the president of the Northeast Ohio Leadership Foundation. We're chatting a bit today about just kind of the core of what they're doing, and that there's so many people doing great things for the kingdom of God, so many followers of Jesus, whether it's in ministry or in churches or nonprofits or even in the secular community, in business,
Yes.
who want to do good for this community.
Yes.
They just don't have the connections to do it. That's where Northeast Ohio Leadership Foundation comes in. And you've been at the organization for, is it 3 years now?
3 years now. Yeah, I started my 4th year April 1st. And the first year, as I think I mentioned on the show before, I just spent a lot of time just building relationships and finding out, looking at the why, of course, and then the what and the how. And we started simply with, and it's not just simple, but it's, you mentioned earlier, it's impactful, just to connect people. So we got this monthly gathering. We get 25, 30, 35, 40. We started January with the health initiative, and across 3 counties, we had 44 agencies show up. And guess what? They loved it so much, sharing best practice. It was emotional.
I bet it was.
I mean, it was emotional. I had chills. I almost had tears. I was thinking, wow, they're just sharing their story. And guess what? Now they're meeting every month. All we got to do is line up the time, and they have a different topic every month.
Because it's so easy when you're just doing the grind of your business to get stuck in that grind and not realize you've got other people. It's in their best interest to help each other.
What family has not been impacted by addiction?
Right.
Right?
Right. Every
Opioid
family
addiction. And so now they're meeting. Well, okay, how about education? Sharing biblical principles, or, studying the Bible in schools. Now there's a law in Ohio that allows children to come out of school and to be taught the Bible. So we have an education cohort, folks that are involved in education, and then housing. And housing is one of the most important, assets for a family, is to have a home. And so many single moms, children in foster care, And so what does an NULF do? Maybe what we could do is we can bring those entities together, and they can share best practice, or we could look at other cities and what they're doing, bring that together for looking at that particular problem or that particular issue, and share it and solve it together.
Yeah, and
or
we
try to get it solved.
We saw that in action in many respects at the City Mission Gala recently.
Yes,
as we met the folks from the Cleveland Land Bank. I think it's
it's the Cuyahoga Land Bank.
There you go.
Right,
they were
Cuyahoga
there, and they were connecting right in front of everybody.
Right,
to what's going on at City Mission.
Well, think about the Cuyahoga Land Bank. And he's a very humble guy, Gus Frankos, but he created the law, the legislation to create the land bank, and it's non-political. But on top of that, in Ohio, we're the only county, let me repeat, the only county that has a faith-based 501c3 for faith organizations for housing called Land Bank Charities. So that was a perfect partner for us, because we come alongside small churches, small ministries who need housing, or they want to do something outside the walls of the church, like a home for addiction.
And City Mission in particular is trying to build homes for women who graduate from Loris Home.
City Mission.
They're remodeling. I mean, it's great to see these partnerships create tangible ministry for people in need.
And what we try to do is look at the marketplace and connect business leaders across the city to those opportunities, building hope in the cities in the same space with housing, and same thing with City Mission. And so what we can do is, while they're successful organizations, we still want to be able to connect those of faith who just aren't aware of how they can use their time and talent. And so this coming Thursday is an exciting day for us. It's another reason I wanted to be on the air this morning, was that we're having an open house, and it's going to be in Independence at 6801 Brecksville Road from 3 to 7. You can go on our website, www.neolf.org, and go to events, and you will see it there from 3 to 7.
Again, that's the Northeast
Thursday.
Ohio Leadership Foundation, so NEOLF.org.
Yeah.
And it's this Thursday, you're saying?
This Thursday from 3 to 7. The owner of the building is looking for business tenants, and so we're going to have a tour. Some of the business leaders, there's some organizations. We're going to announce a few organizations that's going to be renting there. And then we're going to have an actual future, and I don't know if we really have the time much this morning to go into detail, but you think about what's happened in the commercial marketplace, right? With the pandemic, people don't need 10,000 square foot anymore. Maybe they need 5,000. People are working from home. But guess what Lauren once from Chicago. I'm picking on Lauren for a minute.
Oh, I
here,
pick
right?
on her all the time. Go ahead.
Okay, so Lauren,
as much as you can. Go ahead.
I know that you're moved in a beautiful little city in the Northeast Ohio, but where do you work and you want a destination? Maybe you have a child. Maybe you want childcare. Maybe you want somewhere where there's a coffee shop, there's a workout facility. So this can become a co-location destination site for the next generation. And that's what we're trying to build there and brand that in Independence. There's a city park outside around that building.
You are trendy, Dan Colontone.
Take your lunch, have a little walk on your lunch break.
Yeah, I mean,
people want this, and in many respects, they need it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm actually jealous. I'm in my later years, and I'm like, man, I watch my son starting his business, and they want to network, they want to connect, they want to form groups, the next generation, they want to serve in their community. Well, what better place to come and see that there's a destination in Independence that's trying to bring those different stakeholders together?
Ron and I have been trying to get a hot tub here at the station for many years. Nobody bites. Trying to get a gazebo in the back, maybe with a hot tub.
Or how about a pickleball court? How did that all
I
of a
still
sudden,
don't even understand it.
I know, it's so big.
How
It's so
that
big right
became
now.
so big. It's
I
like
don't know.
going to be in the Olympics now or something.
Oh, really? Wow.
And I don't even get it. It's like, it's not ping
It's like
pong.
mini
I
tennis.
played
It's not
tennis, but there's pickleball courts being. The point is, this is a co-location site that you can come and just have coffee, take a walk, network with your peers, but actually work there. And it's 250,000 square foot, so there's a lot of room for growth there.
And again, connecting with other followers of Jesus in the marketplace, whether it's in secular business or a nonprofit or in churches, the Northeast Ohio Leadership Foundation is trying to do kingdom good in our community by bringing folks from different areas of life and business together. And they have an open house coming up this Thursday from 3 to 7. For more information, go to NEO, Northeast Ohio, LF, Leadership Foundation. See how that works? NEOLF.org.
Yeah, and just go to events and or be more than welcome to even give me a call on my cell 330-606-7786. If you get that 330-606-7786, I heard this morning, text me. I'm all about connecting those with time and talent that want to serve their community.
You're a good man, Dan Colontone. Thanks for your time today. Again, Dan Colontone is the president of the Northeast Ohio Leadership Foundation. I'm sure we'll talk again soon, brother.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You bet. Coming up here in just a minute, Americans were surveyed about how much they think artificial intelligence, AI, should and can and will influence their spiritual lives. We'll look at the results of that study here in just a minute.
How beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. Welcome to Footsteps from TWR. Your host is Andy Napier.
Today, let's talk about carrying the good news of Jesus to women, including suffering women around the world. Our guest is Susie Peck, the Global Director for TWR Women of Hope. And Susie, give us an overview of this ministry which touches women in at least 125 countries.
It's beautiful to see, and sometimes people don't really understand, right, what Women of Hope is all about. Women of Hope, we want to bring hope and healing in Jesus to women around the world and across generations. So we take people on a journey. We teach them, so people are going to learn about things women go through and what we're doing to help soothe their suffering and introduce them to Christ. And then as they learn about the horrible things that women go through, they will probably be hopeless, but we're not about being hopeless, we're about hope. So we invite people to pray over those topics so the situations can be transformed. I am a firm believer in the power of prayer, not because of prayer itself, but because the one who listens to our prayers, the God Almighty. And I believe He aligns our hearts to pray according to His will. So as we pray, we are invited to participate with Him in transforming the lives of women around the world. That's why prayer is so important to Women of Hope. So we have learned, we have prayed, and now we're going to listen to words of hope. And so we have our signature program, Women of Hope.
To learn more about the radio program as well as the overall ministry of TWR Women of Hope, go to twr.org/footsteps. twr.org/footsteps.
Footsteps is a production of TWR.
We talk about the Bible. We listen to programs and sermons about the Bible. But at the very heart of it all, we spend very little time reading the Bible. Speaker and author Dr. Crawford Loritz.
One of the big disappointments and burdens on my heart is how readily we accommodate our biblical illiteracy. And I think if you've been a follower of Jesus Christ, over the course of your lifetime, we should have read through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation at least 4 or 5 times. And it's amazing the number of us who do not take the Scriptures seriously. Somehow or another, we use the Bible as sort of like a screensaver, but not necessarily are we passionate about knowing it. And it's one thing to know it, it's another thing to submit to it.
Let's get into the Word, really get into it. A thought from Moody Radio. And catch Living a Legacy with Crawford Loritz, Saturday nights at 7:30, right here.
Are you looking for candid conversation from a biblical perspective? You found.
Is there an age that you would recommend for parents for waiting for your kids to get social media or screens? So I guess the two, social media and screens.
You know, Bill Gates waited till his kids were 14 to give a phone, and he kind of knew something about phones. And Steve Jobs, when he was asked, how do your kids like the iPad? You know, he's like, oh, I don't let my kids use the iPad. So, you know, we should kind of take clues from these people of like, why did you do that?
I think it was the founder of Pinterest, or like one of the creators.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, my kids don't have social media.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Can you imagine?
I'm like, you created this and your kids don't have it.
Right?
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
.837 WCRF. Mornings with Brian. I'm so glad to be back. Love this team. You guys are incredible, and I'm so grateful for your hard work last week in my absence. Wish you would have missed me a little more, but that's fine.
Well, you
I'm
can't
getting
have
over it.
everything.
We can't say things on air because then it comes back to haunt us.
Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about.
What do you mean, Daria?
But there are a few clips. Well, I might have sent you some of the clips.
No,
I did.
Ron,
Ronald.
what did you do?
He did, yeah. He did.
The one on Friday where he said Brian's really good at his job, that one?
I think you sent that.
I don't remember for sure.
As soon as it came out of my mouth, I knew it.
And the one,
Ronald.
was it Scott Lessing who said there should be a Brian Dolan chair?
No, that was David DeFelice.
Yes.
Yeah, you sent that to me.
Oh, my gosh.
From NASA, my colleague at NASA. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I don't know if I feel about honorary anything because that usually it's like it's a step closer to memorial. The memorial chair. I'm not sure I want that.
Not yet.
You guys use much AI in your life? Like ChatGPT and all that jazz?
I actually just started using AI to help me write social media posts because like you tell it like, okay, these are the words I'm going to use. And then it says, this is fancier. I'm like, I like that.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm always skeptical of everything and kind of grumpy. And we're helping one of the kids try to get a job. And they needed a cover letter for an application. And I was like, I don't know how to write a cover letter.
Oh, yeah.
Those
Hey,
are fun.
it's me.
Yeah.
You're not going to read this. It's stupid. Just look at my resume, you dummy. It's like, I don't know why those things exist.
I think I told Ron and Daria last week that you can ask ChatGPT to make a meal plan for you.
And I'm going to check that out.
And you could say like, I want this many red meat meals. I want only chicken meals. I want vegan.
Google actually just
dairy-free.
Implemented an AI feature where, like, if you ask it a question, it'll compile the most likely answer based on, like, everything on the front page. So you don't have to even click on anything.
Wow.
Yeah, I actually I used that this last week.
Isn't that great?
I didn't know. I was like, what is this? Oh, I like it. I liked it. Because I wasn't asking it a risky question. Sure. It was something so remedial, I knew it's not going to, like, steer me
it's like
off
5
a
plus
cliff
5.
somewhere. Yeah. I don't have to ask for that, but close. But the cover letter thing,
amazing.
Sarah went up, boop, 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 beep, boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
You put in like the link to the job, you put in this and that, spits out a cover letter. You just have to go and edit.
Make it sound more like you.
Which, by the way, hiring people, you don't need to ask for a cover letter anymore because no one's writing them. ChatGPT's writing it.
Well, to be fair, ChatGPT might be writing your resumes too.
Yeah. So I mean,
I would love that.
I hate
make it look cute.
doing my resume.
Yeah, that's what my wife is for. She's so good at that stuff. But
apparently, when I took this job, I was too old to put what year I graduated. Apparently, you're supposed to stop doing that after you hit a certain age.
Really?
That's rude. Yeah.
Like what, the year?
Yeah.
So now it's just, here's the degree I have.
That's right.
Okay.
Huh. And my wife and I were talking about that and used to put those up front. That was the headline. Your
now
degree.
It's job
Yeah,
experience.
no, it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
And now it's at the end.
Yeah.
If you have degrees, you're such a loser now. You put it at the end of your resume.
No, it's not that you're losers.
Well,
it's that job experience is more important.
Right. My dad actually helps people write resumes for his job. And so he's like, okay, this was fine in high school, but now you got to reshuffle everything because you actually have real world experience.
Isn't that wild, though? Culture has shifted so much. The value of education is such that it's at the end of your resume. The part they probably won't look at. It's right above
or it doesn't
references
really matter
available upon
for the
request.
job that you're applying. Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe. But I think that's the standard now in resumes. But you could have ChatGPT write that?
I'd be shocked if you couldn't at this point.
I just wish we could get rid of the cover letters. They're so dumb. And the AI is writing all of them. So the question, though, becomes, what are the...
It's right there.
What?
ChatGPT for resumes.
Get out of here.
Right there. See?
Completion time, 15 minutes. Wow. Life is... It would
take me like hours to fix my resume.
Oh, days. Days.
Trying to make it all cute, yeah.
But this is where I think we can see a lot of advantages to this, right? I mean,
I think so.
Sure, any technology can be abused, but there's power in artificial intelligence. Ron's scared of it, though, because you watch too many movies.
Well, I play around with it, but yes, I do fear the eventual Skynet and the robot overlords.
I still remember, I think it was you that plugged in to the one that draws pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Draw me do a painting of Jesus flipping over tables.
Oh, yeah, I didn't I didn't do that prompt, but I saw the results and I had to share that.
And it was literally, it looked like first century Jesus doing a backflip over a table. It was so funny. I just about died.
Technically met the prompt.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But it sounds like Daria's using it for social media posts.
I use it to generate pictures sometimes. Like sometimes I'll have a specific one in mind that I don't know how to find or create in Photoshop, and AI helps me out with that.
So is it making it out of thin air or finding it?
I don't know. If I knew that, I wouldn't work here.
Wow, I haven't done the picture thing. Make me look tougher. Can I have it do that?
It's hard to find one that will take an actual person's face and use it. It usually has to create from scratch.
I thought you were going a different direction. I thought you're like, Brian, there's only so much AI can do. Let's not stretch the technology to its limits. Well, the question becomes, and it gets sketchy, and Christians are worried about, what are we going to do when it comes to spiritual things with AI? Like, how comfortable are we with AI and spiritual things? So the American Bible Society surveyed about 2,500 Americans for their annual report on scripture engagement and related topics, but it was the first time they included questions in their survey related to artificial intelligence type stuff. They've never done that before in the annual survey of Americans in general. So here's some stuff they found. 68% of people don't think AI could help them in their spiritual practices or promote spiritual health. Like the vast majority, 68%, almost 70%. Are like, AI, not going to help me in my spiritual life. Don't look at me like that, Ron Eastwood. Well, what's that look?
There are so many things, like I wouldn't trust it to write a sermon without, it could do a first draft for you and you would have to edit and correct. But there are things like if you said, create a Bible reading plan for me, I'm sure it could do that. And would a Bible reading plan help your spiritual life? That's up to you.
Yeah.
But
Or if you said, like, I'm feeling anxious or depressed, and it said, like, here's some Bible verses on that could be helpful.
Right, and you're thinking so practically about it, but clearly no one's thinking about it that way. I wonder if I could go back in time as search engines were new, if when we were asking Jeeves things.
Yeah.
Were there questions from Christians like, if you shouldn't Google Bible verses, use your concordance. What if it takes you to the Gospel of Lauren? Were people worried about that?
With like search engines?
Yeah. Don't ask Jeeves. He might lie to you.
Could be.
Probably were.
And now
I can't remember. That's so long ago.
Stop that. It was. But I mean,
like I
all
said,
the time I use Google
I'm pretty
for
bad
this.
at like biblical references. I can't remember where it is. I know it's there. I just don't know what the reference is. I Google all the time.
All the time.
What verse says this?
Right.
I'm like, oh yeah, that one.
And Jesus said something about, and then boom, there it is.
Yeah.
Right there. Which translation would you like? I mean, it's powerful, right? But what about AI? Should we be concerned about this? Well, clearly people are skeptical of its uses in their personal and spiritual lives. Americans in general are skeptical, as in even 58% say they don't think AI will, quote, aid in moral reasoning. What are you going to ask it to help you decide the spiritual question? I don't really know what that means. 1 in every 4 people say they feel optimistic about the impact the technology will have. 1 in 4. People are nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm nervous. Not for like the things like, find a Bible reading plan or find a verse for me or whatever. I'm nervous about what is it being fed? Like what articles or what textbooks or what, books of the Bible, like what I'm talking about?
Even
like
certain translations.
Like what's the source?
Translations, yeah. I'm worried about like those types of things of what is it being fed that I could trust, that is going to give me a trustworthy answer.
Right. When it comes down to deeper issues of theology, I don't think we want to trust a machine to figure that out, because there is, on one hand, I think it could be helpful because there's so much like cultural context and language context that you need to be aware of when interpreting scripture. Like some passages are very, very strange to us, but when you realize the context, make perfect sense. So it could help with that, so pastors don't have to do as much deep diving to figure it out. But there's still could be a problem.
Yeah.
Well, there actually does become a divide of sorts in people and their optimistic view of AI with spiritual things. And we're going to dig into those fascinating statistics here coming up in just a minute.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten.
Without Trinity support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-659-9838. That's 1-800-659-9838.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that is Medicare. And maybe you've heard switching to Medicare to pay for healthcare can save many families up to $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true people are way more satisfied after making the switch too. The member satisfaction rate for Medicare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. Medicare works, too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. See what you can save. This is a very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. Call 877-58-BIBLE. That's 877-58-BIBLE. 877-58-BIBLE.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
is 8:53 here on WCRF Mornings with Brian. Looky what we have here. Is this a Lauren Daigle giveaway?
Oh, my goodness.
Wow. See how that works? We play her on the radio station. You love her. You want to see her show. We got 5 pairs of tickets to see Lauren Daigle. And you could just text the word Lauren to us to enter for your chance to win one of 5 pairs of tickets to see the big show. It's like the Kaleidoscope Tour or something.
Yes, that's correct. Wow.
Colors everywhere.
That's not even on your sheet.
I know.
That was just from your brain.
You're so proud.
I know. It's pretty good. I knew the name of a tour.
Yeah.
Whoa. There's lots of colors. You'll see those. Okay. So text the word Lauren to, not our friend Lauren. Don't text her.
Yeah, that's how you spell my name. So you could.
You could text her name or Lauren Daigle's
And you
name.
are
It's the same.
texting me. I can see. So.
See, no matter what you're doing, Lauren to 440-546-2255. Lauren, 440-546-2255. Before the break, we were chatting about some statistics and a new study from the American Bible Society. They surveyed 2,500 Americans about scripture engagement. And they've done this for many years, but it was the first time they included some questions about AI, artificial intelligence. And there was a high measure of skepticism about how helpful this is going to be for people's spiritual lives. Again, 68% don't think AI could help them with their spiritual practices or promote spiritual health. And you all were pretty surprised by that.
I'm not surprised. I just don't think they're thinking it. Like, we're not necessarily talking about it's going to deepen your walk by some profound thing it has to say. But like Lauren and I were just talking about the practical applications of finding specific verses of scripture, which I don't think they're thinking about.
Right. Yeah. And that's where I started putting asterisks in the article, and this is from Christianity Today, at this divergence in the statistics. People who are less engaged with a religious community and less likely to spend time reading scripture were more optimistic about the potential of AI. Those who want to read the Bible but are not currently doing so, somebody the American Bible Society would call movable middle. Like, they're not reading the Bible now, but they're open to it. They can imagine the tech might give them a place to start. It can be daunting, one individual pointed out, to pick up a book that has more than 700,000 words for the first time and look for answers to life's big problems. For someone like that, AI could be a godsend.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could ask AI, who is Jesus? How do I get saved? How do I get plugged into a church? Something you might be afraid to ask someone or not know who to ask. And then you can go from there with a real person.
Yeah, that's kind of how they described it. They said, you can ask AI, where did Jesus say, or give me a summary of when Jesus talked about, and then they can open up their Bible app and look for themselves. So then the question becomes, is it the mature snobby Christians who are mad about it? Pick up your book and your concordance and put down your AI. Who's upset about it? Who's skeptical?
I think it's just being skeptical of the internet and that it's not going to actually represent what's happening in Scripture.
Yeah, I'm still somewhat skeptical of AI, and I understand why a lot of people are. But when I saw that there was now a feature where it's like, I write a sentence for my job, it's like, hey, we can actually make your words more powerful.
Yeah.
And with everything else I have to do, sparing that little bit of brain power is very helpful. So I understand why people are skeptical, but I'm also coming around to, if used properly, this could be a very powerful tool.
And maybe they're taking the question personally and saying, can AI help me? And they're like, well, I already have my concordance, my Vine's dictionary, everything I need. It probably won't help me because I'm using all my tools.
And yet, okay, so Lauren, you're a Moody grad. If you've used Google to ask questions about Scripture, it's like, I don't know, a tool to help you more quickly and easily ask hard questions. How could that be inherently bad?
I mean, like I said before, I'm concerned that, like, what kind of information is being fed into the AI? Where is it collecting information from? Are they trustworthy sources? Are they trustworthy Bible reading tools? Are they trustworthy authors?
And yet, isn't the responsibility always on the person using the technology to be a wise digester of it? As in, like, social media. People go, oh, look, I saw this on Facebook. It must be true. There's aliens here now. They're coming. Oh, hello. don't believe everything you read on the internet. That's what Abraham Lincoln said, right?
Well, I think so. When internet was first out, it was like, don't trust anything on the internet. Like, you can't even, when the internet was available for me when I was in like grade school, but it's like, you can't use it because it's not trustworthy. You have to use these 20-year-old textbooks.
My teachers were scared of it.
Those are so accurate.
Right.
And now we're in an age because people are used to it. And for me, I've grown up with it. They think it's overly trustworthy. So I understand where those people are coming from as well.
And maybe we'll get to it this week. I saw an interesting piece about some in the New York Times about how universities need to change, because what we've lost in our society is teaching people the very basics of what it means to analyze and think critically. Just gone. Yeah. Like, maybe if we just teach people how to do that, AI won't be so bad. You don't have to worry about people trusting a computer.
Right.
They'll inherently know, I shouldn't trust everything I read from this. The end. But it might help me. I don't know. That's that. Maybe Friday we'll have something else to chat about with that. Maybe you got some strong opinions of your own. We got plenty of time on a follow-up Friday. But for now, that'll do it for today's edition of Mornings with Brian. We're back tomorrow. I'm back tomorrow. I'm going to be here.
Wow, two in a row.
Unless the Lord's not willing or the creek rises.
Yep.
Or I get sick or something. Or
You planning on it? I just would like to, plan my day. So.
Well, I'm not planning on it, but you never know, Lauren, because I don't know if the creek's going to rise.
Yeah.
I live far away, lots of creeks to pass. It's 9 o'clock. It's time for JD.